What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Truth here on the John Roca channel. Wow, 2 episodes of The Truth in the same week after it had been on hiatus for quite a long time. But here we are. We're back here in quite a day. How was your day? A lot of stuff happened today. A lot of stuff going on in the world today. I put some of my stuff out there today. There were some conversations out there today. So there's a lot happening in the world. We're right on the precipice of America's 250th celebration. I'm working on a video that will be out probably on July 4th. If the editing takes longer, it'll be out on July 5th. But basically, like the top 10 films that showcase the American spirit. That's what I'm working on, and I worked on it all day today, recording it probably sometime tonight or in the morning, and then spending the day editing it tomorrow, and hopefully have it done by the time Saturday rolls around. We also have a Geek Buddy show we're recording tomorrow at 9, so that'll be out probably around noon tomorrow. You can look for that as well. But I'm here live tonight to talk about a lot of stuff going on in the world of entertainment. There is no hot mic tonight. Unfortunately, you get one half of the hot mic. Whether I'm the hot or the mic person, I don't know, but I am one half of it tonight because Jeff is with his family there in Boston, recovering from the Jaylen Brown trade, but also wanting to spend time with his family. And so there's a lot happening there on his end. So he called me last night, was like, hey man, I don't think I can do the show tomorrow. And I was like, please don't even sweat it. Spend time with your family. That's what's important in life. So I am here tonight to hang out with you all. Thank you very much for joining me. Over 100 of you joining me already right off the bat. Just want to remind you that the Streamlabs and the Superchats are open here as we start the show. If you want to send your questions, thoughts, and comments as we go along, the address is in the chat. It's in the description of the video. And I think it's on, it's on the screen there somewhere. Yes, no, there, yeah, there, right there. So find it there, send in your love, send your support. I would very much appreciate it. But yeah, we got so much going on. It's been a busy day today with me. A lot happening. The Lady Outlaw was handling some medical stuff today, but I was looking at some things and preparing everything for the day. Yesterday was pretty exhausting as well. I had driven to LA and back yesterday, then did a show and put out the Geek Buddy shows. There was just a lot that was happening there yesterday as well. And then, so that's the thing. And I put out something today on my social media that I've gotten quite a few texts about, quite a few DMs about. Seen some comments on Instagram, some comments on Facebook, comments on Twitter and what have you. But, sometimes you kind of hit a wall on something and you need to talk about it and you need to put it out there and you need to speak your truth. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. You need to speak your truth. And today was just one of those days. And we'll talk about it a little bit later on in the show. But I had some things I need to get off my chest and talk about. And honestly, some things are happening for me. For those of you who know me and follow me, you know that I go through these periods of evolution and change and embracing certain mindsets and philosophies. And so I know I can feel this very clearly that I'm in one of these transition places. I've recently gotten a couple of books here to kind of get my head straight about where I want to go next. I actually just picked up this book today, came in, The Law of Success from Napoleon Hill. I was watching the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary, and Maurice White, in old footage, talked about this book and how he read it to move away from a group he'd been a part of that was successful, but that he didn't feel fully fulfilled about, to start Earth, Wind, and Fire, to go and build that group. And so this is a book that I will be reading and poring over. The other book I got here through, yes, I will say Amazon, it just got delivered to me. It's called The First Rule of Mastery: Stop Worrying About What People Think. This is from Dr. Michael Gervais and Kevin Lake. With Kevin Lake. And so I will be exploring that and reading that as well. Because as I've gotten older, I have stopped thinking about what a lot of people think of me. However, there are people in my sphere who I have come to a place in my mind and in my body and in my soul and in my mental health that I kind of want to move away from, because their comments, their sarcasm, their passive aggressive stuff has been affecting me. And it's time to move away from that. It's time to cut that. And whatever it's going to cost me is going to cost me. Maybe friendships, maybe connections, relationships, what have you. But you've got to do what's best for you. And I had someone asking me the other day when I was doing the live show, they were like, well, what do you do when you have a family member who's toxic or, is doesn't align with you politically and is fervently against you and is mean towards you or toxic towards you? And I said, I usually cut people out of my life who are like that, and whether they be family members or friends. Not because I don't enjoy a healthy debate. I don't enjoy a back and forth. I only cut people off when I sense that there's nothing to be gained in terms of friendship. There's no feeling of safety. There's no feeling of connection that's equal and that I feel benefits me in some way and doesn't affect my mental health. So that's the thing that I'm embracing more and more. So there will be changes. There will be evolutions coming. Some of it will be painful. Some of it will be very freeing. I think the channel is going to change as well over the next few months. I don't know what that means specifically yet because I'm just beginning on the journey, but I know myself, and I know when my gut starts to speak to me and tell me things, I know that changes are coming. And this has always been the way things happen for me. And the truth is, I want to embrace what I'm doing even more than I have in the past. And what that means going forward, I don't know, because I've also gotten very exhausted and tired of constantly lining everything up and constantly scheduling everything, constantly putting it all together, constantly doing the thumbnails, doing the things, I'm constantly working. And I've come to this point where I'm wondering if it's worth it anymore and if it's time to just take a chance on myself fully. And so we'll see what that means. It doesn't mean the end of anything just yet, but it does mean that, evolution, things change. And I have to kind of take care of myself now. And I'm realizing that more and more because the load is getting heavier and heavier. And I find that I wake up on certain days feeling a little exhausted before the day even starts, or overwhelmed emotionally before the day even starts. And I think that's something that I need to really start figuring out and addressing. And yeah, I may open the door back into therapy again, but I'm kind of, exploring these books a little bit more and seeing if maybe there's some patterns of thinking here that I need to recalibrate or fix. It's like anything in life. It's like any piece of machinery. You are a piece of machinery, and you have to check in with yourself. You have to do the upkeep with yourself. You have to make sure the screws are tightened. You got all the right oil. Everything's loosened. Those things are really important in taking care of yourself. And yes, sometimes you got to shed parts that no longer are necessary for you to function and for you to function in the world, and I think that's an important thing to realize about yourself, and so that's kind of where I'm at now. And I see it happening, and I see it being a sense of taking care of myself. And that's really important. I know there's probably a lot of you who are in your places as well, because the world is going crazy out there, and nothing makes us reflect about ourselves more than how we deal with the world out there and how we might feel the world is changing or the world isn't quite where we want it to be. And there is a lot of frustration and a sense of overwhelmingness, or being overwhelmed rather, that can come into your life and affect how you function and what you do in the world and your relationships, and could affect your relationships that are healthy relationships, because you're bringing that anger, that pain, that frustration from someone else's passive aggressiveness, someone else's childishness, someone else's immaturity. You're bringing that into, you're letting that bleed into your relationships with other people, and I think that's important to take stock, make the adjustments, and move within the circle for yourself. And the people who will respect that are the people you want in your life. The people who don't respect that or fight you on it are not the people you want in your life. And that's kind of how it's supposed to be. If you've got the guts to walk out there and take chances on yourself and take chances of where you want to go in your life. So just putting that out there. So yeah, it's really important. Yeah. And the social media stuff for me, for sure. I've become I've said this a few times now that I've become a little too addicted to social media. I love my TikToks. Those aren't going to go anywhere. But I think the Twitter situation, less so the Instagram situation, but very much so the Twitter situation, that stuff can get to be exhausting, especially because there's a lot of bots out there, or there's a lot of people who enjoy riling you up or causing trouble and do not have any sort of good faith attempt to establish arguments that are good or that are to have an exchange of ideas. And so these are the things you have to discover for yourself. And so there is a reckoning coming for me, that I have to move past for sure. Yes. And this is something I spoke about with Steve on the Cinephiles this morning. I texted him, we're talking, because we're about to celebrate our 10th anniversary of the show, which is this weekend, Sunday, I think at 3 p.m. PT on our Cinephiles YouTube channel. And I was just telling him how, I'm kind of in that spot where these things have to change. These things have to move around. Our show is good. We're still having fun and doing our show and stuff like that. But even that show is evolving because we've talked about things we want to do, which we'll reveal at our board meeting on Friday tomorrow and also on our live show on Sunday about how we want the Cinephiles to change. Everything must evolve. Everything must change. And sometimes you have to walk away from things in order to create space for other things to exist. Like Collider had to let me go so that this door could open up of starting my own channel, right? These are things you have to look at. The whole window door thing that people say, it's important to remember that in your life. And I think I've got a few people in my life that I need to kind of put the wall up and push away because I need to focus on me, and they are affecting where I want to be in my self-confidence and my self-esteem and what I want to accomplish and my belief of what I can do with this platform. So those are things I'm just giving you a wide open, vulnerable conversation about where I'm at right now. So, well, I play video games all the time, Poisonous. And it may be why I've started playing the video games because I recently became a fan of Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yote. I'm now playing Jedi Survivor. And as I said the other day, I picked up the James Bond thing, but gummies might not be a bad suggestion. But I think that's running away from the problem. I think you have to address the problem. It's really important to address the problem and make adjustments and changes in your life. That's for sure. And if things change, they'll change because they naturally have to change. That's life. And they'll evolve to be whatever they're going to be. But I can tell you now that I am waking up way too many mornings feeling exhausted before I even get out of bed, thinking about my day. And I'm not excited to jump out of bed. And I used to be excited to jump out of bed to do everything. I used to be excited. You guys remember I would do shows upon shows upon shows. I find myself now a little less inclined to do so because of all the other extra weight that I have to carry. So we'll see. We'll see where it all leads. We'll see where it all goes. But that's kind of a window into where I'm at in my life right now. So yeah. Yeah, burnout. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely burnout. I think I feel that burnout for sure. And it's causing me to kind of reassess some things. I still enjoy the conversations. I still enjoy the banter. But I find that there are less and less spaces where you can have honest back and forth about topics, about points of views, where people don't ridicule your point of view, where people try to hear your point of view, see where you're coming from, and then interact. And you're returning that interaction, that energy. I think there's too much of when you're having conversations with people oh, that's a stupid point of view, or that's ridiculous, or you're a fool, or what does that mean? Those kinds of things. And so I just feel like I'm getting to that space where it might be time to make some changes and make some reassessment. So we'll see. We'll see where it takes me. We'll see where it goes and where we end up when it's all said and done. But like I said, nothing's immediate. It's just where I'm at right now at the beginning of this transition. And I know myself. I know when the transition starts to happen, that things are going to evolve over the next few months for me, and we'll see where that leads me. Anyway, we are not here to talk about my journey or where I'm going or what's going on with you right now. We're here to talk about so much going on in the world of entertainment. Thank you to the 250 of you who are joining me live already as we start this thing. I appreciate y'all letting me have a little bit of space to talk about this stuff. It's very kind of you. Give me that grace. Maybe some of you are also going through your own stuff, so maybe some of the words I spoke are kind of where you're at as well. But we are here to talk about James Gunn, talk about Taylor Sheridan, Armie Hammer, maybe Seth Rogan if we have some time, Beau DeMayo. There's a lot here we got to get into on the show. So strap in, relax. As I said, if you want to send in some Streamlabs and Superchats, feel free to do so as we're going along. The hot mic's not tonight, so if any of you would like to make up some of that hot mic money that I'm missing out on if I'm not having Jeff do the show today, would love for any you all to send in any of support that you want to send in here on the show. All right, let's get to it, guys. Let's jump into this thing and let's talk about this story. James Gunn and Batman, the story that will not go away. James Gunn in the DC universe and who is going to play the Batman. Let's move to this story here. Let's read this out. We can watch this from World of Real. Let's see. Am I set up in the right way? Let's take this down. Yeah, let's set this up. How do I want to set this up? Did I enjoy this? Yeah, there we go. We'll do it that way this time. Where is it? Let's make it a little bit bigger so everybody can read along with us. So here we go. James Gunn is on such a generational run of epic fuckery. This is according to Jordan Rumi at World of Real. That as soon as word got out about Supergirl bombing, he sent out his sidekick, Peter Safran, to make a damage control statement to the New York Times. I said the same thing in my interactions, I think with Jeff on Friday and then with Christian on Monday as well. Then someone from his team allegedly leaked the name of the next Batman to journalist John Campea. Is that what was done? I don't know if Jordan's framing this thing 100% correctly. Was it someone from James Gunn's team who talked to Campea? We're going to play Campea's video in a second, so we'll see what line this all up for me as well, maybe for some of you. Just to build up some buzz, any buzz around the DCU. Yesterday, Campea claimed that Gunn's DCU had cast its Batman with an actor already on board for the planned The Brave and the Bold movie. A Batman Robin team-up flick, even though Matt Reeves' The Batman sequel is coming out next year, and the risk for oversaturation is very much there. All right, we'll get to Campea and what he said. In the wake of that, English actor Tom Brittney's name, let's bring him up, has been circulating as a possible choice for Batman. Brittney's known for Grantchester, which I think that photo is from. Currently appears in The Westies. I don't know what that is. And the upcoming Fall 2 Dead Point. I saw that trailer the other day. Fucking insane for those of us who are afraid of heights. It was actually a finalist for Gunn's Superman before losing the role to David Cornswet. Nicholas Hoult was reportedly the third actor in contention. Of course, no confirmation. This is just a rumor for now. But this is the part of the article that I think is really interesting. And I had no idea that this was actually a part of this. Officially, and Andy Muschietti is still attached to direct The Brave and the Bold. Let's move me down. Do I have a, can I move myself down? Let's move me. There we go. There we go. That's good. That's good. This is just rumors. So for now, but Gunn has previously called Brittney truly one of my favorite actors, incredibly talented guy. All right. So we'll see that with Brittney. Now, officially, Andy Muschietti is still attached to direct The Brave and the Bold. I've told you this, you all this for a while now, that he was moved off a long time ago. I got that from a source of mine. But many have speculated about his potential exit ever since the failure of The Flash, especially after the DCU's total 180 as it heads in a completely different direction under Gunn's leadership. Christina Hodson wrote the latest draft of The Brave and the Bold, and I keep hearing that Gunn is actually considering replacing Muschietti with himself. This is the big thing for me. Jordan saying that I keep hearing that Gunn is actually considering replacing Muschietti with himself. Yes, Gunn is apparently tempted to direct the DCU's Batman movie after helming the first two Superman films. Might as well take the ship down while you're fully at the wheel. Gunn has previously called Batman his biggest issue in the DCU and spoken at length about how difficult it is to develop a version of the character that feels distinct enough from Reeves' vision. He has stressed that Batman needs a genuine reason to exist within the universe and can't simply be there because he's a popular character. No release date has been set for The Brave and the Bold yet. From what I gather, Wonder Woman will shoot first sometime in 2027 before Gunn greenlights his Batman movie. So this is some fascinating stuff, honestly. The idea that Gunn would want to direct the Batman movie. Now, you say to yourself, well, he did a Superman movie that made $615 million. He didn't direct Supergirl. Now, he may have come in and made some adjustments, made some changes, as Craig Gillespie said, which I told you guys about on my show the other night, that, James Gunn selected that final needle drop, and God knows what changes were made under his control as well, or supervision of the film as well. Did he approve the 20 to 25 minutes that were cut? There are questions to be asked. And if you saw the Supergirl box office for yesterday, which was released this morning, the news, it came in third yesterday on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the new film came in third. So that's going to be, and they're predicting a 70% drop now. So even worse than what had been speculated on Monday morning and afternoon when I did the show, The Truth on Monday. So this is going to be interesting. But to hear that James Gunn wants to direct Batman, I'm not necessarily surprised by that. I'm not, because I think it makes sense because his butt is on the line, right? And now after Supergirl, and I didn't think Supergirl was that big of a deal in terms of like affecting the DC universe, and it doesn't, right? Right now, I think, as I said on Monday night, everything that's happened before, and the bumps and the debacles and the mistakes and the promising all this stuff and not everything coming to be, I think all of that came to bear in Supergirl. It was pretty obvious when you look at how that film turned out and all the stuff that went on behind the scenes with that movie. The 10 screenings, the editing, the changing composers 3 times, and ending up with a score that isn't really that memorable. So there was just a lot of problems behind the scenes, it seems like. How many drafts? A lot of people talk about the script, complain about the script. So there's all kinds of stuff. So right now he looks shaky. Coming out of Peacemaker season 2, he looks shaky. Coming out of Creature Commando season finale, wasn't that well received? He looks shaky. We'll see what happens with Clayface. We'll see what happens with Lanterns. And he's looking at Man of Tomorrow. So if these rumors are out there and true that they're going to maybe announce their Batman, and as some people have suggested that their Batman is going to show up in Clayface, which I think is a phenomenally dumb idea, because that's not where you launch your Batman, is in a third C-tier villain movie. It just doesn't make sense. So you can roll him out in a Joker movie, you got me 100%. Roll him out in a Clayface movie, I don't understand it, So I'm going to be curious to see if that's the way they go about it. Now, if it's true that all this momentum is building up for a Batman announcement soon, then I think the time where he is going to announce that he is directing the Batman movie is going to come soon after. He has said that he's working closely with the writer of the Batman movie. He refuses to reveal. I mean, Christina Hodson is there, but has James taken it over from Christina Hodson? I don't know. And so I would not be surprised that the guy who is working very closely with the writer of the Batman movie may want to direct it himself. And also because his butt is on the line. Now with all this stuff that's happening and the questions that are being thrown around about whether he's going to stay around, even the people like Campea who have defended him are saying that Gunn is on shaky ground. And so I think this is a move by him, if he does it, to show that he can still save this universe. And I got to tell you something. When I first heard it, I was like, oh my God. But as I've sat with it a little bit more, I've thought to myself, well, this is a survival thing. If he gets to direct it, and he has a good track record when it comes to superhero movies, regardless of whether you think Superman made the money it was supposed to make. It was a success in that it got the excitement back for the DC brand. So to me, this looks at like, I look at it like this. He wants to save the universe. He wants to go out on his shield. He wants to do it his way. And maybe if he directs a Batman and Brave and the Bold that is fantastic, he saves the universe. He saves his butt. And if Man of Tomorrow is great and he follows, and then the Wonder Woman comes out and it's good, and then he gets to do his Batman because we don't know what's going to happen with Ellison coming in, possibly by September, maybe later, then he's on a run, and he has saved his butt, and he can go forward with this universe. Or he can walk away after the Batman movie and say, I leave the universe in good hands, in a good place. So I'm really curious to see if this is how this is going to go down. If he's going to actually direct the movie, who he's going to cast. And as the article points out, Jordan points out that Tom Brittney is an actor that James Gunn likes. So will he cast Tom Brittney? Will he cast other people? Or somebody else, rather, to play Batman? And what is the story he's going to tell? And if he's been working closely with the writer, he would know the story that is going to be in the movie. And he wants that story to be what he wants that story to be. But we do get to this thing about James Gunn that we've talked about. And I know some people think I've got this hard. I don't. It's analysis, right? When you look at it, writing Creature Commandos, writing Peacemaker, both seasons, and Creature Commandos, both seasons, I believe. Writing Superman, right? Overseeing Supergirl. There's just a lot. So here we go again with James Gunn possibly co-writing something, possibly directing the movie. And so what is such an anomaly about this whole situation, if he does do this, is that this was pitched, as I played the video the other night, as him being excited to bring all this stuff to people and excited about working with writers, excited about bringing in directors, excited about overseeing the universe, but not necessarily being the person who does everything. And now this feels like he has either fired everybody or they've all called in sick because they don't want to work with him under him as a manager at the restaurant anymore. And now he's got to take the orders, make the food, serve the food, work the cash register, and bust the tables. That's what it feels like to me. And I think after the Craig Gillespie situation, if you're a director looking at DC right now, this is the last place you want to go to make a movie. Maybe Clayface will change that. But like, to me, if I'm a young director, I'm a director who's got some name like Gillespie or Guadagnino, and I look at this situation and I see a guy who's constantly wants to do everything, constantly wants to have creative input in everything, and then runs and hides when something of yours crashes and burns, right? Why isn't James Gunn out there doing interviews this week? Why isn't he out there promoting Supergirl? Why isn't he out there, doing interviews and doing sound bites, defending the movie? Why isn't he out there promoting and stumping for the movie? Why isn't he out there? It's been 6 days since the film came out. Peter Safran issued a statement on Sunday. And then there's been radio silence. There's been an occasional tweet from Gunn saying, go see Supergirl. That's it. Right. And so there's a run and hide aspect of this all that I don't like either. Because if you're going to be involved in this and you're going to be the end all be all and you're going to be the guy in charge of this stuff, you've also got to be the point person. What do we enjoy about, for those of you who love sports, what do we enjoy about the captain of the team? The captain of the team comes out in the post-game press conference, whether they win or lose, and answers all the questions and takes all the responsibility and all the credit, whether it goes good or bad, and speaks to the questions that people have about it and about what happened. And I think a lot of people respect that with the creatives as well. That if a creative comes out afterwards and is like, okay, listen, this is what we wanted to do. We had some ideas. We had some goals. We clearly didn't meet it, but we hope people still enjoy the movie. We see a lot of people enjoying the movie, and we still think we're very proud of it. And I love working with Craig. Craig's a fantastic director. We had some issues. We took some advice. We took some editing. Like, there's just things you can say that I think will minimize the damage. But what I think he's being advised to do by the PR teams is to kind of just let this one become a failure, let it blow away in the wind. People will forget about it in 2 or 3 weeks. But I don't think so. I think just as ardent as people were to attack Snyder, now there are people coming in who want to go after Gunn, full guns blazing. Regardless of what you guys might think about me, I do not want to go after James Gunn, 2 guns blazing. I just want to point out things and look at things from an analytical point of view and see where we're at. and assess it from there. And when you look at the things that are happening here, it does feel a little bit like he can't seem to attract the right directors and the right writers to come in to do these projects. And I think the Gillespie thing will make it even harder. You know, Star Wars has a little bit of that issue. I mean, Sean Levy came in writing a wave of the Deadpool and Wolverine situation, but I think after what we saw the tail end of Kathleen Kennedy's reign, I think there are a lot of directors who are hesitant to come in and subject themselves to that situation. So do I think he's going to direct it? I think there's a 25%. Jordan says he keeps hearing this, and I'd never heard that until I read Jordan's article. And Jeff never even said to me that he's heard, because we have conversations off mic all the time that we don't talk about on the show. But I don't think Jeff's ever told to me that he thinks James Gunn is going to direct the movie. So I'm not sure what sources Jordan has on that. But of course, Jordan has broken stuff. And so I'm not necessarily doubting him, but I am kind of taking it with a bit of a grain of salt. So I would say I'll up it 5%. I'll say there's a 30% chance he directs The Brave and the Bold. If you watch that video again, you see how excited he is to talk about The Brave and the Bold. And Damian Wayne is his favorite Batman, or Robin rather. So maybe there's a 40% chance that he's directing The Brave and the Bold. You know, and I don't think as many people would be upset about it, because when it comes to directing movies, James Gunn is a good director, and he's got a very good track record when it comes to superhero movies. But I do think it'll say something that he seems to be, it'll give the air or the illusion or the belief that he is a control freak who does not trust anyone else to do what he wants to do. Kevin Feige has never sat behind that director's chair at Marvel and taken over a picture. Yes, he's come in and given, advice, maybe editorial changes, maybe script changes, maybe editing changes, all of that. But he's never said, fuck it, I'm going to direct the movie. Fuck it, I'm going to write the movie. Fuck it, I'm going to direct or write and direct this show or these animated series. No. So this is what makes it very unique. And I don't know how much he can hold on to the wheel when he's doing so much. So it's going to be curious to see what that ends up becoming. What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to direct it? Do you want him to direct it? Oh, camera shot looks better. Oh yeah, I just kind of pulled it back. Yeah. Shine Film says you're doing a lot of speculating right now. It's literally what I do. Did he write direct Clayface? No, he didn't direct Creature Commandos either. No, but Creature Commandos he wrote, and he wrote the Peacemaker stuff. And no, he didn't direct Clayface. But look at the director he got for Clayface, right? It's Flanagan, who hadn't done a feature film, I don't think, has never done a feature film. So you look at this kind of stuff and you wonder, and Clayface ain't Batman. Clayface ain't Superman, And who's going to direct the Wonder Woman? That's what I wonder. Is he going to direct the Wonder Woman movie too? Like, will he move on from Man of Tomorrow, right into the Wonder Woman movie, right into the Batman movie? Is he going to direct all three of these films in a way of trying to save the DC universe that he is in charge of with Safran? I wonder. I wouldn't put it past him. And honestly, I think the way some fans have turned and the rhetoric has changed around female-led superhero movies or female-directed superhero movies, I don't know that a majority of the DC fans would be upset if he was to move on to Wonder Woman, then move on to Batman. I don't know if the people in James's life might be upset. Some of the more outspoken women in his life might have an issue with him doing the Wonder Woman movie. But if it's his butt on the line, man, I don't know that I begrudge him a chance to save his universe by taking full control of this thing and kind of shoving everyone else aside while he rights the ship a bit, or does it his way and then can push it out to see what other people can do with it, And yes, I am speculating. I am not telling you, that this is actually happening, but I am speculating about what I think may need to be happening. And I do think there's a lot of growing pains for him, because being a director or being a secondhand man of a main dude, it's not an easy job within itself. Then to move into the top spot, you don't know everything that comes with it, and all the drama and responses and all the rhetoric, both toxic and constructive, that you are confronted with. So I'm just going to be curious to see how he goes about this over the next few months. Oh, I'm pixelated. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. I really don't. It's happening more and more, and I may have to move off of StreamYard, to be honest with you, because it's so frustrating to see this happen. I don't think it happens when I'm doing my watch-alongs for my football, because I'm using something else for those watch-alongs. For those of you who have watched any of the soccer watch-alongs, do you recall me going out of focus? I'd like you to let me know that. So Abernathy says, didn't Snyder direct 4 of his movies and no one say anything? Well, no, I think 3, right? Because he directed Man of Steel and then BVS, but that was always the plan. It was not the plan for James to direct all these movies. Snyder came in with the plan that he was going to direct all these movies. He was going to be in charge of it. So it was like, but what's happening with James is like he's readjusting what originally was the intention. But it's a valid question or a valid comment you're making, Abernathy. And he halfway directed the Justice League, right? Or 3/4 of the way directed Justice League. But I don't think was there a fourth one? Was there a fourth one? I don't want him to fail. Tribal Chief, where did I say I want James Gunn to fail? This is where I'm trying to have an honest conversation about this with you guys. I don't want him to fail. I'm just saying this is a lot for him to take on. And this feels very clearly like he doesn't trust anyone else to do it, or he can't attract the level of talent that he wants to attract to do these things. I don't know. We'll see. Hasn't announced who is going to be the Wonder Woman director yet, if that's coming next, and hasn't announced who's going to be the Batman director or who's going to be Batman. So it's very interesting. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, Snyder was not, they're right. Snyder was not I don't think it was the CEO. So it's kind of a different situation, of course. And he wasn't EPing the universe. Right. So, no, it's not the case with Muschietti. That's the reason he's not doing it. All right. So I'm sorry I'm pixelated. If I'm pixelated, I don't know what that is. I have a few windows up, but that's never usually an issue for this stuff. But maybe it is like the Prism Live Studio that I've downloaded. Maybe it's because that's why I use that for the soccer stuff. Maybe that's what's affecting this whole situation. We'll see. Let's move on to the Campea side of things. I want to bring up his comment. Here we go. Let's watch it together. And see what he has to say about this stuff. Where is it? Here we go. All right, let's pull it back. And let's get the sound up.
Holly Juan Kenobi writes, who is Batman? I think I know who Batman is. I think I know who the DCU Batman is. I think they've cast him. I had somebody write to me about a particular person that they believe it just got cast. I get a lot of those. I don't pay attention to a lot of them. But then I heard from somebody else who's a little bit more well-positioned that verified that it looks like this is the guy. And he doesn't know the first person I talked to at all. So I sent that pic to a Hollywood producer I know. And what do you think? So I think I know who it is. I'm not going to say it right now. I'm
That's
not
good.
going to say it right now, but I will say this.
That's good marketing.
It's not a name I would have guessed. And I don't think it's a bad name, but it's not a name I would have guessed. Yeah, not a name I would have guessed. I'm going to keep putting out feelers because I don't want to say who I believe is going to be the next Batman until I'm a little bit more certain, because I don't want to spread misinformation. So we'll see. We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Holly one.
Well, let me turn that down there. Okay. Interesting stuff there. The camp is talking. By the way, there was a follow-up. So let's play the follow-up to what he said. Where is it? Is this it? Yeah. So this is 2 days later, according to the post here, 2 days later. So let's see what John has to say about this.
Know who Batman is? I think I do. There are actually three names.
So three names.
One of them is the primary one. One is the one that I think it looks like it's going to be them. And then there's two others whose names I know they've talked to. That headache. So now I have told a couple of people who I believe it is. There's a few people I've told, and I've sworn them to secrecy. And they will be able to tell everybody later on when they announce Batman, if it's who I believe it is. I will just reemphasize, it is really not a name I was expecting.
So you said
it was not a name I was expecting.
Okay.
So,
he said that a few times now, that it's not a name he was expecting. He wants to underline that. And that's very interesting because John always has his finger on the pulse of things and his ear to the ground. Now, I don't think he'll get offended when I say this, but I do think he loves to downplay his effect on the industry or his knowledge of the industry. And I get it. You want to come off like, you're one of the masses and all of that kind of stuff. It's a smart move. But John is much more plugged in than he might tell you honestly, and I know this from having worked with him, but also, knowing people who know him. So the fact that he's saying it's someone he wouldn't have thought of, that is a very interesting point, and a lot of people have been running with this Tom Brittany situation, but Tom Brittany his name's been out there for a while. So what does that mean? So
yeah, look, let me say this though.
I think that's why it's not Tom Brittany is what I'm saying.
If I get more confirmation about who I think it is, then if I can get confirmation that makes me feel 100%, like right now I'm 99%, but if I get another big piece of confirmation, I'm talking somebody right involved with the movie's production gets a hold of me and verifies the name to me, then I'll come out and say what it is. But I until I get that, I don't want another Adrian Brody situation.
I'm not familiar with the Adrian Brody situation, so I don't know what he's referencing. Maybe one of you can illuminate me on this in the chat.
Diego writes, if the name you have is true, do you think it would be a good Batman? Yes. I really do.
Interesting.
I mean,
okay.
Again, I don't know what James Gunn has in mind for this Batman.
Right.
So I don't know for sure that the person I've got is a great fit because I don't know. But in general, do I think this person would make a really good Batman? Yeah, I really do. I really do. At least I think the potential is there for that. Okay.
So that's interesting when you look at it, right? I mean, the idea that he has a feeling about or he's got somebody who's reached out to him. And I don't think John would go off half-cocked because, he's taken his share of social media beatings at times, or people coming after him, doubting what he can do, or doubting what he knows, what he doesn't know. So I don't think you put yourself out there for ridicule unless you were sure, right? Because it's very dangerous. I put myself out there for the Hulk Punisher thing for Spider-Man, and I tried to walk it back a little bit by saying, well, this was the first iteration of the script, because I was kind of protecting myself a little bit just in case it didn't come true. I'm still being honest, but just in case it didn't come true. With John speaking about this like this right now, I don't think this is, as Jordan suggested, this is coordinated by James Gunn's team and this is to take the attention off of Supergirl. I don't think that. I just think people have been wanting stuff pops up. You know, news pops up, sources reach out. It's very random. Having worked with Jeff, I know this to be a fact. I've had numerous calls with Jeff over the years where he has called me because a source has randomly reached out and it just happened to coincide. And sometimes it didn't coincide with whatever is the topic of the week. So to me, I look at the situation and I go, okay, I trust that John has heard something. He seems adamant that it seems believable. It's a surprise. It's someone he didn't expect, but it's someone he thinks that would be a good Batman. So that's exciting and leaves you curious. Will he be the one that breaks the story? That's going to be interesting. Will he break who the Batman is before anybody else does? You know, you've got all kinds of people trying to break stuff. Jeff, Boris Kitt, Justin Kroll, D'Alessandro. There's all kinds of people trying to break stuff all the time. I mean, online, you've got Daniel Rickman, My Time to Shine the Low, Popcorn Planet, Cosmic Circus, all those people running through trying to break stuff and what have you. So I don't know, but I think it's curious. And I wonder where we're going. But it feels like a Batman announcement might be imminent. Now, I know Apocalypse Horseman on Twitter said they haven't even started casting, blah, blah, blah. So could be true, could be not true. But there's a lot of people with credible voices who are saying different things and on different sides of this thing. So what will be the truth? That'll be curious to find out when that actually, when we actually find out the truth about the situation. You know, I wonder at all. Wemby is playing Batman. Yeah, sure. That would work for sure. We'll see how this all plays out. But the name that I will say this, because I cannot say the name I heard because I was sworn to secrecy about the name. And this is legitimate. I'm not trying to jump into the Campea side of things or anything like that. But the one name that was relayed to me off the record, I think is a very interesting name. I guess because same thing with Campea, like the name I heard, I would not have thought would be the name that they would go to. And I don't know if it'll be that name for a number of reasons. And if they would legitimately be a good Batman, I don't know. Because I don't know that I see the Batman as much as I see the Bruce Wayne of it. The name I heard feels a little more like Bruce Wayne, a little less like Batman. So I'd be curious about it. And maybe Campea and I have heard the same name and he feels he's a damn good Batman. Whereas I feel he's a damn good Bruce Wayne and not necessarily a Batman. So I'm curious. To see who it might be. But I imagine we're going to get Dan Helson. Yes, I'm Batman. I imagine we're going to get. Now you got me. Don't Haskell, Joker. You are cursed. Yeah, no, don't get me going on that. He'd be a great Joker. That wouldn't Dan Helson as the Joker would be a fantastic SNL sketch, wouldn't it? Or something, some fun short movie. That would be a lot of fun to have if Dan Helson ever goes heel and he becomes the Joker, that'd be a lot of fun. We've seen that in wrestling. Sting was a great Joker. I think Jeff Hardy played a little bit of a Joker-esque type thing when he was heel for a bit. So that could be very, very funny. Yes, Michael Keaton coming back. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Michael Keaton. Why not? Fuck it. One more try. Speaking about Keaton, just real quick, a little quick tangent. Did you guys see the guys who directed the Batgirl? They posted some of the footage with a statement that they think it's sad that they weren't able to save the footage or retain the footage because there's so much of Michael Keaton as Batman in that footage that will never see the light of day or will never be seen by anybody that they loved. So one of those things we lose in life sometimes, the chance to have seen Michael Keaton. Yes, I thought he was damn good in The Flash. Maybe not the film itself, maybe not so great, but I liked him in The Flash. But man, I would love to have seen him in the Batgirl and see what footage they had of him. That would have been a lot of fun as well. All right, let's see. Let's ask some quick questions. For those of you who are watching right now, if you haven't sent any Streamlabs or Super Chats, feel free to do so. Let me know what you think about it. What do you think about this idea that James Gunn could direct Batman? Do you think this is all speculation and bullshit and meant to generate clicks, or do you think this is legitimate? What would be your reaction if he directed The Brave and the Bold? I mean, go watch that video again and see his enthusiasms for Damian Wayne and remove all the other drama. Would you be excited to see James Gunn direct The Brave and the Bold? Let me know, or would you not be? Let me know down in the comments section, or ask me a question, thoughts, or comments here. Why is this broke? Have you seen the 1979 film Breaking Away? I did years ago. Yes, a very good film, good bicycle film with Dennis Christopher, who was in Chariots of Fire. So yeah, I think Dennis Quaid's in Breaking Away as well. Fred says, say to my relatives who are toxic, just because I love you doesn't mean I have to put up with your shit. That's very true. You don't. You are the captain of your own ship. Gally says, if you need a producer, for what? For what, Galliot? I'm always open for a producer. Let me know. I can't pay, but surely we can have conversations. JJ, the Planet Tournament says, you really do love James Gunn. See, I get accused of both. I do get it. And people are like, why do you love him so much? It's like, no, I think his movies are good. And then other people, why do you hate him so much? It's like, no, I think his PR answers could be better. So there's no winning, guys. Wiley says, I get the need for change. I also have phases. I flock to self-help books, music, and movies. Change is difficult for both sides. Funny enough, Cinephiles has helped a lot. Always here if you need help. Thank you, Wiley. It's always kind of you to offer that when you do, brother. Thank you so much. The Smasher reviews. The Smasher says, favorite 4K discs in your collection. Love the channel. Thanks. I think you can see all my favorite 4K discs. They're right there. Criterion is here. 4K is down here. And then one more level. And I just picked up some new ones. Amazon had their sale. So I picked up Goodfellas finally for $11. I picked up The Godfather Part 2 for $11, the new transfer. And I got Hamnet for $17, the recent Prime Day sales that they had. There. I also, I also went to Barnes & Noble and picked up some new films. Now, some of you are going to have issues with this, and some of you won't. These were half off, so I got them at a good price. Criterion, I got the Lee Marvin Point Blank in Criterion. It's half off. I got Monty Python, Life of Brian in 4K, both of these in 4K. I got the 50% of Carlito's Way and Steelbook. I've been waiting for this to go on sale for such a long time. I love Carlito's Way. Not as much as I love Scarface, but I love Carlito's Way, and I love Pacino in this movie, man. I love this. You're going to die big time. You already a gangster, Dave. There's no going back across that line. They also had The Gray for 40%, but the guy gave me an extra 10% off of this thing, and I love The Gray, so 4K Steelbook of that. Let's see what else. They had the Blues Brothers in Steelbook 4K, 50% off. I picked that up. And I know some of you are going to be upset about this, but I do love this movie. And I'm going to do a video about this movie very soon. But I know a lot of people didn't like this movie. But I think Maggie Gyllenhaal went out on a fucking crazy ass limb. And I really enjoyed The Bride. I've seen it twice now, both in the theaters and then on HBO Max. And so I'm very excited. And then one last, I always do the haul when it's 50% off. One last haul of Criterion discs. I picked up The Blade because I'm a very big fan of Hong Kong cinema, and I thought this looked fucking excellent. I've never seen it, but I like to pick up Asian cinema and give it a chance because I love a lot of Asian cinema. Stray Dog, Akira Kurosawa's Stray Dog is finally out on 4K, so I picked that one up. And then one last one, because I'm the outlaw. They came out with the 4K version of the original 310 to Yuma with Glenn Ford and Van Halen, whatever. I got that. So it was a big haul, but I had a little bit of shall we say, a gift certificate come in from a friend or a family member, and I was able to use it. So I got some big 4K discs there. Francis, if you're the guy in charge of DCU, don't do a Feige and leave it to the subordinates to take the blunt of the criticism. I agree. You got to be the captain of the ship. You got to get out there, take the hits, make the comments. Don't shy away from the battle. You got to get it. People respect that more if you walk out there and take the hits. They do. Peter Stone says, your gun talk really looms on hypocrisy and does show why people think you have a weird hate for him. You complained when he was in a BTS. Dude, is this English? I don't understand what this means. Your gun talk really loom on hypocrisy and does show why people think you have a weird hate for him. You complained when he was in a BTS. I don't understand why people say a weird hate. I'm pointing out things that he's done. These are all factual things. Now I'm speculating that he'll direct Wonder Woman, Batman. But the other stuff, he did write this stuff. He did direct this stuff. There have been stumbles. There have been promised projects that haven't happened. Where is the weird hate? This is something that's fabricated in fans' minds because some fans are kind of warped and they can't handle that someone puts out a logical argument to analyze someone's tenure. And so they go, it's weird hate because my mind can't grasp what you're doing. I must denigrate it and criticize it and try to diminish it because I can't handle it. And that says more about you than it does about me, buddy boy. But hey, you keep hating. You complain when he was in a BT. I don't know what BTS means for super behind. I don't remember that. I don't know what that means. Cartoon Take John, what's your favorite films this year so far? Project Hail Mary for sure. As I said, The Bride. I don't know what else has come out this year. Real quick. Hold on. Best movie, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Best movies of 2026. Best movies. So far. Okay, let's look at Variety's list. Variety's put this out 2 days ago. What do they have? Yes, the epic Elvis Presley in concert film, 100%. I haven't seen The Invite yet. I haven't seen Obsession yet. I'm going to do a reaction to that on my channel. Let's see. What else? Toy Story 5. Yes, absolutely. That's all they have, huh? That's all they have. The Guardian. What do they have? Yeah, a lot of these came out in America first before they went out into England. No. Oh, Man on the Run. Yeah, I like that documentary on Prime Video. Yeah, some of these are not. Yeah, The Bride. See, The Guardian liked The Bride. So there you go. I'm not alone. Maybe it's a British thing. Yeah, I should make a list, though. It's a good question. I should make a list. So I don't have, those are the answers that I'll tell you. Project Hail Mary is still number one for me right now. Derek, thank you, Derek. Throwing support, can't watch live. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate you coming in. Thanks for the kind donation, brother, man. Tia Foster, what's up, Tia? Says, who would you want to direct the Gunn Batman movie? Ooh, that's a great question. I should have gotten that far in my prep. If it's not going to be a Gunn. And by the way, wouldn't it be Christina Hodson's Brave and the Bold movie since she's writing the script, I believe? It's a great question. Who should direct the... You know what? Let's look it up. By the way, am I still pixelated? It's a great question. Oh my God. Ben Affleck is a great choice. I mean, that's how you bring him back, isn't it? Dan Trachtenberg, I think, is also a great choice. Oh. No, not Shane Black. See who else they suggest. I like the idea of Ben Affleck. I'm going to go with Ben Affleck. Werner Herzog. Yes, that would be amazing. The Batman at this point approaches the Robin. Hey, Christopher McQuarrie. That's not a bad idea. Christopher McQuarrie, right? I know he's working. I think he's working on that thing with Michael B. Jordan. But I mean, if you can get Christopher McQuarrie to move into possibly doing this next, that could be fascinating. He knows how to mix humor with stakes. I think that could be fascinating. Yeah, you wouldn't get Nolan. I mean, imagine if you brought Snyder back in. That would be incredible. So that's Ben Affleck is my choice. I think Ben Affleck would be amazing for that movie. You know, Brian Davison, what's up, Brian? Says, hey, Roka, just sending love, homie. Really loving your hustle hard. You've been going hard on the paint. Best wishes, man. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of you hanging out with me right now. 300 of you hanging out with me right now. Thank you so much. Martin Campbell's a nice choice. But of course, Martin Campbell's hit or miss, isn't he? Like for every The Foreigner or the James Bond movies, there's Green Lantern. So Martin can be hit or miss when you look at it. I am pixelated in slow-mo. God damn it. All right, let me reboot this thing. Hold on, I'll be right back. Hold on. Reload. All right, am I still pixelated now? Let me know. James Mangold could be interesting, especially if they've moved him off the Star Wars movie. If they're not doing that anymore, James Mangold's The Brave and the Bold, I think would be really fun. That could be a lot of fun for sure. I'm doing this. Hearts and credits give me absolutely no faith. Please no. Yeah. Yeah, you look. Oh, see, so I guess I had to. Okay, good. I guess I had to rethink. What someone said, did I see my super chat? Who's that? Codeman says, did you see my super chat before you started? Oh shit, I don't see it. Oh, I had to oh, sorry, Codeman. Let me see if I've got it here. What did you have it under, Codeman? Okay. Whoa, what's that all about? Yeah, I don't see it, Codeman. Sorry. Why do you see Smasher Reviews, Fantastic, Peter Stone, Cartoon 49, Derek Johnson, Tia, Brian. I'm Two Fly Cam. Sorry, man. I see Luke James, though, who sent in a Streamlab. When someone saw my poem I filmed, they were clearly surprised. They seemed to underestimate. It was strange to see firsthand. Do you have an example of when this has happened to you? Oh, when someone has underestimated me? Oh, I see it, Samo. Let me I'll do it next. I'll do it next. I see it. Sorry about it. Yes. I mean, not that my father didn't believe in me, but my father didn't know if I could do it and be an actor. And in 1998, when I came back from studying in London, I guess 99 into 99, right? Because I went back to school in 97, so 98, I went to London. 99, in the spring of 99, I did Hamlet, and I played King Hamlet. And my father came to see me, drove from Virginia with my mom, 12 hours to Tallahassee to see me. And I delivered the performance of my life that night. I felt it from my bones. So, you know, acting is like sports. Sometimes you're in the zone, man. And when I came off the stage, when I came out after everything was done, my father was there and he had tears in his eyes. And he said, I did not know you could do this. I did not know you could be so big and command the stage the way you do. I did not understand. I could not. I don't know why I never saw this. Like, I don't know why I never saw. So he was so complimented. It meant the world to me because I had to prove to myself and I had to prove to him that I could do it, you know, be an actor on stage. It's where I'm happiest is on stage, honestly. And so it was such a revelation. And I just broken down in his arms. Cause I mean, to prove it to your father, you could do this thing. It meant so much to me. And from that point forward, my dad was my biggest fan as an actor, like constantly calling me. He would watch the Actor Studio with James Lipton and would call me and say, like, you should do this, this, and this, you know, that kind of stuff where he thinks he's giving you advice that you haven't heard before. But I loved it because I know it was coming from a place of love and care and affection for me and wanting to support me. So That was my experience. But look, people are always going to doubt you, man. People don't know what you can do until you show them what they can do, what you can do. What you hope for is when you show them what you can do, that they're genuinely surprised. And like my dad, they become supportive of you when your biggest fan. The ones you don't want around are the ones who see what you can do and begrudgingly give you your flowers. You kick those fuckers out of your life. You don't need them. Honestly, you don't need them. This idea that we all need to hold hands in kumbaya and accept each other and yes and no. Yes, we should open the door and give grace. But if someone doesn't want to support you or is not treating you well, man, you got to get rid of them because they're never, and maybe when you get rid of them, they'll come around and understand. And if they don't, they were never there to begin with. You got to be real clear about that. Samuel says, hey, John, feeling down because I got banned from a trans Twitch channel just because I asked if they liked some of the films I like. And she said those films I asked about were shitty, mostly because they were for who support AI or is a Zionist. Yeah, I don't know what you want me to say to that, bro. I don't know what that situation was all about. I couldn't possibly opine on it because I wasn't there to witness it, nor do I know this person who runs the channel that you were banned from. But I suspect, Samo, that you might not be telling the whole truth. Have you had battles in the past? Were you too aggressive in the pitch? Or possibly this person just didn't like you suggested those movies and removed you. That happens. Sometimes you're at the mercy of the person who runs the channel. You guys are at the mercy of what I could block anybody right now if I wanted to, right? You're just at the mercy of who's running the show at times. So you never know, man. Also, thoughts on some folks saying the A24 film Onslaught is right-wing, and one of the reasons they say that is the banks are some of the bad guys. Onslaught? I don't know what that is. Right. The H.R. Hona one. Well, I don't know if they're saying that. No one's seen the movie, so if they're saying any of that, I really don't think it's that at all. It's more a matter of that. It's about the fact that it's about a woman fighting off these super soldiers who are coming to kill her. That's what it's really about. So yeah, I don't know what that's all about at all. And Francis, Clara and the Sun is my next most anticipated. Yeah, a lot of people like that trailer. Jeff didn't, but other people did. So. We'll see. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to our next thing. Let's talk about our next thing. What's our next thing? What did we have lined up? Oh yeah, let's talk about the Armie Hammer situation. If you guys don't know, Armie Hammer is back with that movie Citizen Vigilante. And he did an interview with THR. Let's take a look at that interview. He said, listen, so let's read this thing out and let's go through it. Let me put myself up here again. And then let's make this a little bit bigger so everybody can read along. Okay. This is last time I had dinner with Armie Hammer. This is Seth Abramovich who wrote this article. Last time I had dinner with Armie Hammer, he drove up Pacific PCH in his black pickup truck, ordered mutton. Anyway, Leslie, give him my history. The shoe drop to talk about the scandals, all that kind of stuff. Now it's a Tuesday night in June, 9 years after that PCH drive, and we're on the bustling terrace of a discreet industry canteen in West Hollywood. Hammer arrives a few minutes late. He spots me, offers a quick wave, then changes course entirely to offer an enthusiastic greeting, big smiles, hearty hugs to a man across the courtyard. After a minute or two, he makes his way over to me. He apologizes for the detour, explaining the man is another father at his daughter's primary school. I called my publicist on the way here, he says. She asked if I was sure about this. I told her, do you think anything Seth can write is going to move the needle compared to what I've been through the last 5 years? Immediately with the coded victim language. He orders an Arnold Palmer and immediately for the sympathy. I asked my wife, these are classic tactics. I asked my wife if you were going to be nice to me. So I hope you're going to be nice to me because I've been through a lot. These are people do things in a certain way for a reason. He orders an Arnold Palmer and inspects the menu. Is clean shaven, 39, looks far from broken. In fact, looks quite good. Still trim, still tall, 6'5", several degrees more rugged than the boy I met in 2017. Yes, Armie Hammer is back. The question, however, is what does back mean for a man like this now? 9 years ago, Hammer seemed to exist at the precise intersection of genetics, legacy, and timing that occasionally produces a superstar, great-grandson of the Russian Jewish oil tycoon Armand Hammer, whose name still graces buildings across Los Angeles. He had grown up between Beverly Hills and the Cayman Islands, emerged from his teens with polo ad looks, and old school ease in front of the cameras. His breakthrough came as the Winklevoss twins and David Fincher's Social Network, then The Lone Ranger, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and Call Me By Your Name. He was funny about it then. He said, I've heard the "This Is Your Moment" speech so many times. The way I look at it is I'm building a collage of my work and enjoying himself as much as he could in the process. I used to call myself a consumer, he tells me now. Drinks, women, validation, experiences. I just wanted to consume all of it. More, he pauses. I didn't actually know how to give myself what I needed internally, so I relied on external sources. It's like a black hole. No matter how much you throw in, it's gone. You're never going to fill up a black hole. There was also underneath all that consumption something more corrosive. I had a bit of imposter syndrome. All actors say this. He says, I was like, I don't really belong here, but it seems like I'm here, so maybe I'll have a martini that'll make me feel better about the fact that I'm here. I'm always fascinated by people who work their whole lives to get to a certain spot and then have the imposter syndrome. And I'm really fascinated by a guy who grew up in an incredible amount of privilege. If you watch that House of Hammer documentary, which I did, you'll see how much privilege he grew up in, how much wealth he grew up around, and how much he didn't have to suffer in terms of financially to achieve the things that he achieved. Now, if you watch that House of Hammer documentary, there's a lot of interesting people in that family that I'm sure kind of messed him up to a degree. And some of the accusations from people in his family, not just at him, but other men in the family, are very unsettling when you watch that documentary. So he's like, yeah, there you go. 4 years later, the collage he was building went up in flames. What happened is public record. Several women came forward with accounts of psychological and sexual abuse. Explicit messages attributed to Hammer had circulated online describing graphic sexual and cannibalistic fantasies. A woman with whom he carried on a 4-year affair, all while married to ex-wife Elizabeth Chambers, accused him of rape. He denied the allegations. An LAPD investigation was opened and later closed without charges. For many, none of that settled anything. The messages alone were specific enough and disturbing enough that those who read them have not been able to unread them. The career already faltering ended entirely. His WB agents dropped him. His publicist was gone. He is now represented by a single entertainment attorney whose primary job is contracts and who told Hammer when asked to make some calls on his behalf, that's not really what I do. What followed was genuine chaos. Friends who texted their support privately were targeted by internet obsessives and doxxed, he says. Hammer changed his phone number repeatedly until he gave up entirely and bought a burner flip phone at a gas station, carrying it for a year and a half. For a stretch, he was couch surfing, staying in friends' places while they traveled. He ended up in the Venice apartment, a rent-controlled space so small it had a Murphy bed. The Hammer family fortune, such as it remains, was not a safety net. After his father died, he received nothing. It's just one of those things that's so complicated. You have to be a tax attorney to fully understand it. But the end result was not, I'm set for the rest of my life or even for the next couple of years. It hasn't been that. I asked carefully about reports that his ex-wife played some role in what unfolded. He doesn't take the bait, but he doesn't entirely deflect it either. It doesn't help my situation to make it worse for somebody else to try to save my own ass, he says. And all I'm doing is making something worse for someone who was, for a long time, the sole breadwinner of the family. If I disrupt that, it's my kids who suffer. So we're never going to find out the full truth of how all this stuff came out. Did his wife find out about it? And then did the text messages? And then was this all an orchestrated thing? Hammer could write a handbook to surviving an epic cancellation. He got off social media. He read Pema Chodron. I don't know who that is. He developed a philosophical framework for surviving the experience of having the entire internet decide it hates you. There was a period where I was obsessively reading what people were saying, he says, and then it hit critical mass, and I thought, there is no nutritional value in this for me. This is almost not even the real world. He cites a Tyler, the Creator tweet about cyberbullying circa 2012 and pulls it up on his phone. Ha ha ha, how the fuck is cyberbullying real? The tweet begins. I realized I could just focus on myself and my kids and staying healthy and growing as a person. You can make that your purpose, he says. Interesting. Out of where I'm at right now. What saved him, he says, was his father. The family, including his wife, who had already filed for divorce, had retreated to the Cayman Islands when COVID hit. His father, Michael, held Cayman citizenship, which gave them access to an island that for the first year of the pandemic had essentially zero cases. Schools stayed open, restaurants stayed open, while Los Angeles descended into Zoom school and anxiety as kids were outside living something close to a normal childhood. It really was idyllic for the kids. So fascinating. They were able to go to the Cayman Islands to ride out COVID. What a very privileged existence. They weren't stuck at home. They weren't stuck with kids trying to learn and homeschool. They were off in a beautiful area to enjoy themselves, where everything stayed open. Schools, restaurants, right? And all of that. His relationship with his father had been complicated for years for a number of reasons, if you watch that documentary. Two strong personalities, which accumulated grievances on both sides. When the scandal broke, Michael Hammer wanted to go to war with his son's accusers. He was furious, Armie says. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to do this. We have to make sure they know this. He really wanted to go on the offensive. And I said, look, dude, I'm already on the cross. He continues. The nails are in my hands. I'm not getting off this cross no matter what we do. And the more I struggle, the longer I'm going to be up here. I think it's always fascinating when someone compares themselves to Christ on the cross. Like, do you understand the imagery that you're invoking and the casualness with which you're invoking that imagery? To me, it's akin to comparing something to the Nazis right off the bat, right? This speaks to a certain level of, how can I say this? Self-grandeur about yourself, right? This image you have of yourself as being grander, bigger. And the way he's presented, and by the way, all of this is coming from Armie. We don't know if any of this is true, right? But this is a nice narrative where, no, I stopped my father from going, my powerful father was going to destroy everybody, but I stopped him. And I said, I'm already on the cross. The more I struggle, the longer I'm going to be up here. So you see that this is carefully crafted PR narrative of what's going on to evoke, either consciously or subconsciously, the ideas of victimhood, the ideas of being unfairly tortured, to compare himself to Christ, who was hung on the cross because of trumped up allegations. This is an interesting correlation to make that I think is, whenever anyone makes it, to me, my mind immediately goes to, yeah, there's something else going on here. He had come to believe through whatever a combination of self-help reading and desperation in time, that acceptance was the only viable strategy. That which you resist persists. That which you accept transforms, he says, reciting the mantra. There was nothing I could say that was going to fix anything for me. Well, I think there was. Go on the show. Go on podcasts. Say you're innocent. Say you engaged in consensual affairs with these women. Prove that there was no rape or sexual assault. Or if you did do bad stuff, admit it. Say that you're getting help for it. Do all there are things you can say. I think that was the fallacy of a lot of people who, quote unquote, got canceled, is they were like, oh, there's nothing I could do. Of course there is. There's always stuff you can do. Whether you want to do it or not is a whole nother ballgame, right? Then his father got sick and the old grievances stopped mattering. He was still able to be a lifeline, Hammer says. Michael owned a small apartment building on the island, gave his son a unit to stay in. That's nice. But as Michael's illness progressed, it was his son who became the lifeline. I would bathe him and cook food for him. Now, see, here we go. Right? Why are you bringing this up? To make yourself look like you're this really good person who cares for his father. This is all very smart PR to get you to see him as a good person. He's about to promote a movie where the main character goes after immigrants. But he is right now telling you that he would bathe his father, cook food for him, feed him, change his diapers, do all that stuff. He does not have to bring up his father at all. He doesn't have to bring any of this stuff up at all. But he's bringing it up in a carefully orchestrated way so you have sympathy for him, so you don't question these allegations, the grooming allegations. You don't question the rape allegations, the sexual assault allegations, all these things. And some people are like, well, it was never, the LAPD investigated. Do you know how much connections the Hammers have in the LAPD? Do you know how much money they've given to the police over the decades that they were a part of LA? And from what the documentary, I believe, shows the way they were instrumental in constructing LA. Come on, my guy. Come on, my guy. He said it transformed the relationship just in time. We got to have all those conversations. We got to have an amends with each other. We got to really move through it. And then I got to be there holding his hand when he died, which is like a gift. Still raw from his father's. Now, by the way, all of this could have absolutely happened, right? So maybe he's telling the full truth. I'm not denigrating that. I'm just saying to bring it up is a little bit possibly calculated. Still raw from his father's death, he found himself one afternoon talking to a man he describes only as an old Jamaican guy. Hammer had been complaining that his industry friends were sending sympathetic texts, but not publicly defending him. The Jamaican man looked at him and said, "What kind of friend are you?" He explained, your house is burning down right now in real time. You want your friends to run into a burning house. What happens to them if they do? They get burned. Do you want your friends to get burned? No. So if you're a really good friend, what would you want your friends to do? Hammer thought about it. I want them to stay as far away from the fire as possible. That's another way of saying there are these phantom friends who supported me through all of this, but never said anything publicly. And now I'm saying that they would have, but I told them to stay away from the fire and all of that. The man patted his leg. This mystery man patted his leg and said, now you're thinking like a real friend. Then he stood up and walked away. He says, Hammer, I think that was a spiritual moment. Right. Again, the self-aggrandization. Joseph Campbell would have called it a mentor moment. Notice how none of this is, I went to therapy and looked at my sexual assault stuff, looked at my rape stuff, looked at my the texts that I was sending that were so insane. For those of you who've seen the texts, oh my God, I think I'm going to read them here, but Lord Almighty, there were some unhinged stuff there. Didn't explore any of that. No, it's all this other stuff to make you feel warm and cuddly about him and that he's on this journey and self-help and self-healing and took care of my father. And I met this mystery Jamaican man at the bus stop who gave me this pearl. It's like out of a movie, isn't it? Like this random, it's like the magical Negro. Here's the old Jamaican who's the magical Negro who shows up and drops this incredible bit of information in his lap and guides him through this next phase with his family, his friends rather. And then he says, Joseph Campbell would have called it a mentor moment in my hero's journey. And then tosses it off with the self-deprecation, whatever the fuck that is, right? It's that kind of thing. This is all very carefully orchestrated, guys. He came back to Los Angeles in 2024, and about a year and a half later, an email arrived. It was from Uwe Boll, the German filmmaker whose decades of aggressively low-budget, critically dismissed genre films had transformed him into something of a cult figure. The kind of director whose name functions as its own punchline. Boll wanted Hammer for a movie. It was the first offer he had received in 5 years. I'm pretty sure I cried, Hammer says. It was just this moment where I was like, I'm going to get to do the thing that I love more than anything other than my children. He pauses. I would have done a fucking cat food commercial. I just wanted to work again. But underneath was something more unsettling. He wasn't sure he could remember how to act. I was scared shitless until the moment Uwe said action for the first time. And then I was like, wait, I do know how to do this. There's a reason I had the success I had. I am triumphant. The film shot in Croatia is called Citizen Vigilante. Boll's methods are famously economical. The script was around 50 pages when Hammer received it. I was like, where's the rest? He adopts a thick German accent as Boll. No. We just go and shoot and have fun. We want you to be great. Hammer laughs at the memory. I was like, well, okay. He has since done 3 more low-budget films, Frontier Crucible, which is a Western night driver, a small LA thriller about a mafia errand boy whose night goes sideways, and a film in Bulgaria playing a real person whose identity he won't disclose because the project hasn't been announced. He grew a mustache for it that paired with a trucker hat and a recent paparazzi photo generated significant online enthusiasm. Was I a daddy? He jokingly inquires after I bring it up. Or was I daddy? Oh my God. The professional apparatus is gone entirely. No agents, no manager, no personal publicist. If someone wants to hire Armie Hammer, they go on IMDb Pro and find his attorney. Lately, they always say on the first day of set, we can't believe we actually got you to do this. He pauses and I'm like, my schedule was pretty open. See, again, the presentation is always very much like, wow, we can't believe we got you. Hey guys, my schedule's always open because I'm not getting a lot of work. So it's these things, you got to look at how this is all constructed. His life is now structured around the children. Here we go. Let's bring in the children for sympathy. A daughter 11 and a son 9 with an almost monastic discipline. He's up at 6:30 every morning, makes his bed, cleans his apartment, he makes coffee and takes it outside, meditates and does what he calls his gratitude practice, then walks to his ex-wife's house, wakes the kids, makes their breakfast, gets them to school, picks up most afternoons. He lives in a small rented house in West Hollywood, a minor but welcome upgrade from the Venice shoebox. Returning to LA after the Caymans was harder than he expected. I was back in a city that felt like it used to be my city, but he had moved on without me. I keep waiting for the score settling throughout the night. It never comes. He won't go after his ex-wife when given the opening. He won't name the industry friends who went quiet, although he will note that his gay friends never turned on him. They were like, bitch, you think you're special. If the Grindr chats got released and someone hacked into those, no one would have a job. He laughs. And by the way, he adds, referencing his own leaked texts, if you're sitting up in your room late at night, there's high as shit just going, this is fucking hilarious. I'm being funny now. You take that shit out of context, then you're done. But he does not claim total innocence either. I made these problems for myself. He says, this didn't happen to me by fluke accident. I didn't do what people are saying I did, but I brought very dangerous and unsafe people into my life, and I pissed off people in my life, and here we are. I brought very dangerous and unsafe people into my life. I wasn't very dangerous and unsafe, but I brought them into my life. He describes the chaos of the scandal, the doxing, the phone numbers, the siege of it without identifying villain, but he acknowledges that his public image is a hurdle. He is far from clear, that he is not yet entirely uncanceled. It's like Sisyphus pushing the boulder, he says. He went to see a horror movie recently, the hit horror breakout obsession, and afterward found himself in a conversation about wishes. A friend asked what he would wish for. If he could wish for anything, he thought about it seriously. $1 billion, he decided. Put a chunk of it in an ETF, set the kids up, have some comfort and stability. His friend was surprised. Your wish wouldn't be going back and undoing everything that's happened? Honestly, no. He tells me toward the end of our reunion dinner after the apple tartette la mode arrives. I remember the emotional state and the mental state I was in before all that happened. Healthy people don't act the way I was acting. I would have loved if I could have had the opportunity to do it in a little bit more of a gentle way. But at the end of the day, you get what you get. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Armie Hammer has redeemed himself by the end of that discussion. So yes, a lot. There's acting in an Ubi movie. Yes, I agree with you on that one. So this is so very fascinating and clearly meant to redeem his image, right? And look, I'm not saying people can't change. I'm not saying people can't go on therapy journeys, but look at how he doesn't even mention any therapy in the entire article. He mentioned self-help books, so self-help therapy. He doesn't mention doctors or therapists. And I think this is on purpose for a number of reasons. One, if he had to go to a therapist, it implies there was something wrong with him. Now, he does say at the end, like, I brought people that were unsafe. I did this. He is taking a little bit of responsibility, but he is denigrating the people and their character. And we don't know if they were unhealthy people or unsafe people. We don't know if they were dangerous people, right? He's saying that, right? But throughout the whole time, he is not saying anything about therapy or doctors or healing or anything. It's all, being healed by therapy. It's all stuff that I read books, and then this magical Negro showed up and fixed things for me. And now I'm this great dad. I was this great son, and I'm trying to put myself back together. So if you're a person who has been accused of numerous sexual assaults and abuses and rape even, and you are in a film with Uwe Boll, directed by Uwe Boll, and the main character is killing immigrants, only immigrants that commit crimes in the movie, because only immigrants in the movie are the ones committing crimes. And then Elon Musk, who has endured his own, who has gotten his own sexual assault allegations, issues with him as well from numerous women. And he posts the film on his Twitter account. And you say nothing about it. And you don't stop it from being posted. You don't say, this is terrible, I don't want to be associated with this person. Then in essence, you are co-signing that situation, right? And when I look at this stuff, this is where I go to. He is clearly going towards the right wing, because the right wing loves the quote uncanceling of people. And if you saw that Louis C.K. special on Netflix, I watched about 20 minutes of it. It's like watching Shaq on the Celtics, or was it Willie Mays on the Mets, whatever his last, or on the Giants. I don't know where Willie Mays played last, but a lot of people talk about that as the worst, seeing the old fighter who's still trying to think he could do it. That Louis C.K. special is, and I watched it just to have like a reference point, and it's like, man, it's rough to watch. That dude does not have, he's like the Chelsea Ross in Major League. He's got like all kinds of chemicals on his body in order to, so he can throw the ball over the plate. He's no longer has his fastball anymore, his sinker, his curveball. He has nothing but junk that he's throwing at the batter. But you look at the situation, and there's if this is all the stuff he was associated with, and now he's going to be okay with Elon Musk retweeting the entire movie and then benefiting from it. To me, there's the problem. If you've really done work on yourself and you've really changed who you are as a person, You don't allow yourself to be connected to people who have a history of being horrific towards immigrants, horrific towards people of color, horrific towards women. You just don't. And I think it's a horrible thing to do. And a man who is this aligned with Trump as well, right? So in essence, you're taking that baggage on as well. That man who is now just recently, the Supreme Court did not overturn that $5 million judgment. So he is an adjudicated rapist, Trump. And so that's another thing you're connecting to. These are these things that if you've really healed and you've really moved away from these things you've been accused of, you don't align yourself with the political side that elevates this stuff, scoffs at this stuff, ridicules the accusations. That's not what you do. So to me, that's, am I pixelated again? Fucking hell, man. I'm sorry, guys. So to me, that's the mistake in all of this situation. All right, let me refresh myself again. Sorry, guys. All right. So this is where I look at this kind of stuff and I analyze this kind of stuff and I look at how this is all put together. And this is very clearly an attempt to save himself, so to speak. So, but what really frustrated me today, and I tweeted about it, was seeing that Collider, through Frosty, had given this man a platform to sit here and talk about his movie. Oh, and Frosty wearing an Orson Welles shirt. Give me a goddamn break. But sitting there and talking with Armie Hammer, Collider platforming this movie that has anti-immigrant rhetoric. It is a right-wing film in the most horrific ways. And Frosty even putting on his Twitter like, hey, win free tickets to see this movie. Screening Q&A with Armie Hammer. And this is a guy who the other day on his social media went off about Trump and said, note to my friends who still back Trump, I'm not here to dunk on you. I'm writing because you have a working brain and this story insults it. The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool got a $14 million paint job, blah, 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 blah. Claims without evidence, blah, blah. Back on May 4th, Trump bragged about the same coating, blah, blah, blah. And the green water, a George Mason scientist tested it and found ordinary non-toxic algae. Basically, he's pushing against the whole nonsense that Trump has been talking about with the reflecting pool. Never mind that today they indicted one of the guys, which I thought was one of the most kangaroo press conferences I ever saw from Jeanine Pirro. He said, here's the thing. If they will look you in the eye and lie about something this small, something you can see with your own eyes, ask yourself what else they are lying to you about. Again, you have a working brain. MAGA is counting on you to stay loyal instead of exercising independent thought. Prove them wrong. Well, I don't know that you prove them wrong by platforming one of the guys who was platformed by one of the heroes of the MAGA movement. You utter doofus. I don't think that's how you push back on that. How you can have a cognitive dissonance to post that about Trump and then go, you know what? I'm also going to interview a guy and promote free tickets for a movie that is made with anti-immigrant rhetoric, which has been Trump's calling card this entire second administration, and interview the guy who has been accused of a number of sexual assaults and rape. Yet you're going to sit there and complain to your friends that they should have a brain in their heads about Trump. They have the cognitive dissonance to do that is mind-blowing to me. But in my experience with this guy, working with this guy, and from people I've spoken to, people who reached out to me today after I posted what I posted on social media, a few people reaching out to me today and telling me, like, you know, their experiences with him and the fake progressive that he is. And I pointed out in my tweet how he had articles from numerous writers at Collider when I was there say, like, do these studios need diversity? Where are these black directors? Where are these Latino? Where are these women directors? And his entire editorial staff was white. Not the writers, not all the writers, but all the editorial staff was white the entire time I was there, where they were pushing out diversity, complaining about diversity and all this. And I'd heard from a couple of people that they only hired black writers when Black History Month came around, and only as freelancers. So this is the kind of stuff that you just kind of look at and go, you know, what's the truth here? You know, and I've been saying this, that there are people within our pundit sphere, our critic sphere, who are corroding it from the inside out, you know, and because they are so desperate to make money, to stay employed, get the followers, all this kind of stuff. I never had the greatest relationship with him because he was very Trumpian in how he ran his side of Collider when I was there. People had to have these codependent relationships with him. I know that people were let go who told me that they were let go because they didn't kiss his ass enough, and that was part of the conversation, and so, and not that he had the conversation, but that they were told that, and so these are these things I look at and I go, it's amazing the cognitive dissonance that people have in their minds to do the things that they're doing. So today I felt like calling him out. There have been numerous instances in the past where I was close to calling him out, but today was the day because this film is anti-immigrant and I'm the son of immigrants. And for him to just callously platform a film like this and platform a guy like this to help him rehabilitate his image, I think is abhorrent on so many levels. So many levels. And it's disappointing that Collider attaches themselves to this because Collider under Valnet, although I may not, be happy with how Valnet treats some employees, and we did a piece on it on the hot mic a year or two ago. I think some of the video stuff on Collider has been fantastic. I think some of the articles have been really well written at Collider. And I know that there's much more diversity at Collider than there ever was when I was there. I was the only on-camera consistent on-camera person there that was a person of color. I know Wendy would show up occasionally. Dennis would show up occasionally. Dorian would show up occasionally, but it was me who was on those things almost all the time, much to the chagrin of some of the people who worked there who had no problem telling me that. But yeah, it wasn't that diverse there. And now, especially when it came to the writers, there was a lot of, and nothing against the writers, they all want to work. So, but I would see that consistently. So, it is what it is in that situation. But it's disappointing to see Frosty do that. Because the other stuff, like whether he's a terrible interviewer or not, that's up to other people to decide. Whether he's a good writer or not, that's up to other people to decide. I can't, that's, I know people make fun and clip out stuff and all of that. But junkets are tough. Junkets are hard, and they're not easy to do. And he's got a consistent thing. He's got a big Rolodex, so he gets invited to stuff. Whether he should or not is another conversation, because there are younger people who are doing these junkets or doing these interviews at Collider who I think need to shove the old man aside and take those spots, because I think they would ask better questions and they would generate more views on those videos if they did it. But that's my own personal point of view. But when it comes to platforming a film like this and platforming anti-immigrant rhetoric, you're motherfucking right. I'm going to step up and say something. And if people want to get pissed off at me, they can. People want to come after me, they can. But this was the moment to say something, and I took it. And so people can be upset all they want. And trust me, there was much more I could say about the experiences I had with him personally, and also from other people who reached out to me and gave me their personal experiences today from having worked with him both in a full-time and freelance capacity. So that's what I was saying. So, these are the things that I look at when this kind of stuff. So I felt the need to speak about it today, and I'm not speaking about Collider overall as a company or as the people who work there. I'm speaking about him specifically, so just wanted to get that out there. All right, let's move on. We're almost out of time here because I know I got to get some dinner. So let's move on to some more questions here, and then we'll get to maybe one more topic. Let's see. Christopher says, have you seen Daniel RPK's recent Spider-Man leaks? Apparently Peter and Yelena have a naked scene together and said he didn't expect her role at all. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know how much of that is true, and I don't know how that's portrayed in the movie. So we'll see how that's portrayed in the movie. Craig Galley says, any buzz on The Great Beyond? I got to ask. No, I haven't heard anything at all. Wayne, what's up, Wayne? Says, hola, John. Hey, I watched your review of Backrooms earlier. Fantastic. Viewing the film through the lens of trauma is on point. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I hear an extended version of Backrooms will be released soon. Are you going to check it out? Absolutely. I hear there's an extra 15 minutes. So I actually want to do another review of the 15 minutes when I go see it. And I think it's out this weekend or sometime next week. We'll see. Tomorrow I'm recording Geek Buddies at 9 a.m. and preparing it to go out at noon. And then I'm going to go see hopefully 2 movies. Hopefully I'll see Minions and Young Washington. Because I do want to see what Angel Studios has. I'm not platforming that movie. I just want to see it. So we'll see what that's all about. But and then with Backrooms sometime this weekend, if it comes out this weekend, I'll definitely take a look at it. JLM says Hammer was cast as Batman in George Miller's JL movie. Yes, I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah. Listen, I liked Hammer before the allegations came out. I thought he was good in Man from Uncle. Thought he was good in Lone Ranger, even though those films, I thought Man of Uncle was a good film. I didn't think Lone Ranger was that great of a film, but I kind of respected that. But then the allegations came out. Dan's Dog says both Hammer and Majors need to get a clue, it seems. Yeah, I agree. Jonathan Majors, I don't know what you're doing, man. Dan's Dog says once this MAGA stuff is over, those who have aligned themselves with it will have a really hard time washing the stink off. Agreed. Also, Dan's Dog, what I find utterly hilarious is that at Trump's 250th state affair, there was a guy in Uncle Sam pleasuring himself. That's MAGA in a nutshell. Yeah, he got arrested for that. I saw that. Yeah, I mean, again, this is, if you've ever watched the 10 Commandments, this is bringing the idol down, the golden calf idol down, and they're all doing debauchery there in that scene. That's what is happening with MAGA on so many levels, whether it's the state fair or the private stuff or whatever they've got going on. It's really unsettling on so many levels. Doug says, what's up, Doug? What's up, Roka? What are your thoughts on Death Wish 1974? I know it was just as controversial at the time, but we all know you love your revenge film. Is it here? I know I have it. I must have put it away somewhere. Yeah. I bought Death Wish on 4K a few months ago, actually. It was on a sale at Kino Lorber on kinolorber.com. I love Death Wish because this is a singular incident about what happens to him as a father in that moment. Did I like the Bruce Willis version? No, it leaned way too heavy right wing. I didn't think Death Wish was negative because it was a revenge film. It was a father who had his daughter and his wife, what happened to his daughter and his wife, right? But he's a functioning guy. And so he has these moments. Now, did that end moment with the thing like this? I don't like that. I think that was done to please the audiences or whatever. But, Charles Bronson is a man's man. I love Charles. And I enjoyed him in Magnificent Seven. I enjoyed him in Mr. Majestic, so many other films through the years. If some of you remember the old top 10, Matt Nost does a great Charles Bronson impression. And so I enjoy Death Wish for what it is, which is a commentary on what was going on in the world. But it doesn't tell you that every person of color is a criminal, which is what essentially this Citizen Vigilante movie seems to do. So that's where the difference is, I think, when you look at those things. It was controversial at the time because of the vigilante aspect of it all. And that's always going to be controversial because if you start to have vigilantes in your society, innocent people will die. And from what I understand in the movie, Armie Hammer's character does kill innocent people in the crossfire. So it's an interesting situation for sure. Let's see if I got any more super Streamlabs that have come through. No, that's everything that's come through. All right. So what else do we have in the title? Oh, the Taylor Sheridan stuff. Where is that at? Let me bring that up. Hold on. Let me get out of some of these other things. Vanity Fair. Here we go. Taylor Sheridan. Actually, let me take a quick break. I'll be right back. Let me remove myself. I'll be right back. Got to use the restroom real quick. So talk amongst yourselves. Is there anything I can play? I don't know. I should get a 1-minute thing I can play while I use the restroom. But I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Whew. Thank you to everybody who's still hanging out. My apologies. I had to use the restroom. When you're a one-man show, this is how it goes. I should play a water. That's a great idea, Marco. I am absolutely going to find a waterfall video I can play while I'm. It just says we'll be right back. That's a great idea. That's a great idea, yo. Let me see. Oh, can I transfer this over? I don't know if I can transfer this over. Can I transfer this over? So I do want to show. No, I don't think I can. Okay, let me see if I can do something with this. So I've got something that I'm kicking around. I have my graphics guy working on this. It's essentially a show that's going to replace The Truth. And I think it'll allow me to talk about more things. And so I'm kind of considering this as I told you guys at the beginning of this, the evolution of things, right? The change of things. And I want to go live more consistently, which I've said for a while now, but really want to commit to it. And this is the show that I'm considering. It's not The Truth, but it's The Verdict. Do you know what I'm saying? And so by the end of every topic, I'll give you my verdict on the topic. It's kind of how I look at it. Whereas The Truth implies that I'm telling you the truth every time when it's really my truth. I like The Verdict a bit more. You guys like this color combo? You like the font? Is my name prominent enough? And do you like the title? What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you. Let me know in the chat what you think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you. So put that in your minds. Put that in your minds. All right, let's move on to the Taylor Sheridan aspect of this all. Taylor Sheridan, guy I respect and appreciate. I like his shows. They are not as right-wing as you were led to believe. But he is talking about critics here. He's got something to say. Everybody, it's pile on the critics time right now. Everybody wants to pile on the critics. Everybody's got something to say about critics. But Taylor Sheridan was on Bill Simmons' show. The Oscar-nominated screenwriter of Hell or High Water spent the last decade building a television empire, was on the Bill Simmons podcast. During a recent interview, he went scorched earth on the critics that dismiss but the audience lap up his work. It's not that he's mad. He's definitely not mad, okay? Why should he be? His shows are among television's most popular. He owns a steakhouse on the Vegas Strip. Well, I need to check that out next time I'm up there. Nevertheless, despite being television's most successful and powerful writer who doesn't care what anyone thinks, Sheridan does like to antagonize critics. The Yellowstone creator took umbrage with some critics who said he underutilized star Demi Moore in the first season of Landman. He claims that Moore signed on to the show knowing she would be a glorified extra in the first season, and he is 100% not mad that critics said he can't write for women. Oh, so this is a sarcastic kind of... Okay, so I don't want this because this is sarcastic. Where's the Daily Beast one? Let me bring the Daily Beast one up because I actually want to take his conversations in... how can I say this? Here we go. In context. So let me bring up the Daily Beast one, which I'm subscribed to. You guys should be subscribed to the Daily Beast. All right, Oscar-nominated Taylor Sheridan's best... Oh, yeah, we know all this. All right, so Sheridan revealed on the Howard Stern show, here we go, that he left Sons of... Oh, wait, is that a different one? Oh, no, that's a different one. Where is it? Yeah, is this one it? Yeah, this is it. All right, let me bring this up. Yeah, there we go. Profane rants. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. I am prepared. What are you talking about? All right, let's move in on this one. Taylor Sheridan appeared on the Bill Simmons podcast on Monday, admitted that he's not seeking to curry favor with critics when putting together storylines or Yellowstone spinoffs. The 56-year-old cited how in the Paramount Plus show Landman, he kept Demi Moore largely in the background for the first season. He said, the critics are going to come after me. I'm underutilizing Moore. Can't write for women. All this nonsense. By the way, I never saw any critics say that, but maybe he did. Then I'm going to kill your husband and you're going to have to run the oil company, he said, referencing a plot line. The critics and me, I don't care what they think, and it annoys the shit out of them that I don't care. I don't think it does, Taylor. No offense. I don't think any critic is like, why won't Taylor Sheridan listen to me? Damn it. Why won't Taylor Sheridan listen to me? I don't think they give a shit if you listen to them, bro. I think they just want to say what they want to say about your stuff. And just like you don't give a shit about them. They don't give a shit what you think about it. And just like you don't give a shit about their criticisms, rather, I don't think they give a shit about you, bro. I'll be the first to tell you that there are things that I do that rage bait them a bit, and this is one of them. Fuck them, honestly. So I'm really confused by this thought pattern, right? Because when I look at this stuff, I go, well, if you say that you don't care what they think, why do you write something to get them to get upset and think? Because if you don't care about them, you should nothing them, right? You shouldn't respond to anything they say or do. And when you look at this assessment, it seems like he does care what they think, because he's purposely writing shit to upset them on purpose, which you would argue could affect the overall quality of the show, because you're changing things to appeal to 1% of the audience that is a critic who watches your stuff. And I don't know many critics that are that ensconced in the Taylor Sheridan oeuvre, so to speak. Sheridan moved on from Paramount and is now under contract with NBC Universal. According to Wall Street Journal, he left after declining to make his shows overtly political. I will say that. I appreciate that about Taylor, because a lot of people come after him for being right-wing, and he's not right-wing. He's not. I mean, does he have some right-wing points of views? For sure. But he was on, I think it was Rogan or one of these podcasts recently, and just was going after Trump and the illegality of a lot of things that Trump is doing in office and his cronies are doing in office. And so for his... and that's what I like about his masculinity in his shows. There is a middle ground with which he approaches things, and how he looks at these things. Now, I know there are some Native Americans who've had some issues, and Mexicans who had some issues with how Landman is portrayed, how some of them are portrayed in the shows. Native Americans in Yellowstone, Mexican or Chicanos in Landman. I can understand there are some issues. That's much more nuanced and stuff that I'm not catching when I watch the show. So I respect their space for people upset about that. But what I like about is how he shows men and women in this. It's much more middle ground type of things, and it's much more reality. And I appreciate that. And so the fact that he walked away from Paramount because he didn't want to do stuff that was overtly political, which essentially meant I didn't want to right-wing the fuck out of my shows, I have a lot of respect for Taylor on that. Speaking of Simmons, Sheridan also criticized studio network execs for making endless rewrites rather than giving writers and directors more autonomy. He said it didn't used to be this way. When Steve McQueen was a movie star at Paramount and Bobby Evans ran the studio because writers were turned loose. Directors were turned completely loose. There weren't endless rewrites. There weren't meetings with executives about tone and mood and all this nonsense. You didn't have a lot of people, by the way. The studio executives and the network executives, these are marketing executives for the most part. Or maybe they studied law or whatever. Then they came up and they got a job in the mailroom at CA or WME. And hated that shit. So then they ended up as an intern at some network. Then through attrition, they find themselves the head of development. Well, what do you know about developing a story? You know nothing. So they get terrified, panic that audiences won't get it because they actually have no storytellers. Sheridan said that when he transitioned last decade from acting to writing, he wanted to simply not do what everyone else was doing. He explained what everyone else was doing was taking shortcuts, essentially breaking all the very basic fundamental rules of storytelling because they couldn't figure out their story. With a movie, you're supposed to show me what's happening. The camera is supposed to move the story. The dialogue is supposed to tell me how the people in this world feel about what's happening, or what they hope to do, or what they wish they hadn't done or had done. Listen, for those of you who are writers out there, for those of you creators out there, he's giving you free advice and very smart advice. He's right. Now, I don't think any of his shows are going to win fucking Emmys or all this kind of stuff. And maybe that's why he takes the stance against the critics that he does, because he knows he thinks he's making great shows that a lot of people are watching. So that should receive awards consideration, which I can understand that point of view. But it doesn't mean that his shows are artistic enough in their approach to win the awards that he might think secretly he deserves. I don't know a creative who authentically doesn't care about awards. I know they all say it because it's cool to say that shit, but everyone likes to get an award, man, whether they admit it to you or not. The dialogue is supposed to tell me how to people. Yeah, all this is very smart, all this stuff. Sheridan also singled out Marvel for failing to properly advance the plots of its movies. Their characters, he said, quote, share information dumps that you have to follow to get to the action rather than actually moving the plot with action. Well, I have to say, I have to push back on that a little bit, because I would say to Taylor that the reason that happens is because their films are can be much more dense and complex, especially when you're dealing with multiverse stuff, you're dealing with planets, multiple species. No offense, but Taylor's shows, they're good shows. I love Landman. I enjoy Lioness a lot. That's one of my favorite new shows. I didn't like Yellowstone after the first season. It became too much soap opera. It's not my jam. But the other stuff I've enjoyed from him. I've got to watch Bass Reeves for sure very soon. And so for me, when I see this kind of stuff and he's saying, well, Marvel this or that, it's like, dude, I don't think you could write a Marvel movie with the extensiveness of the Marvel movie and do it in the style that you want to do it. I don't think you can get away with it. I think you could write a self-contained Marvel movie. Absolutely. I'd love to see your version of a Wolverine. Like Taylor Sheridan's Wolverine movie, fucking sign me up, dog. I loved Hell or High Water. I loved Wind River. I think he can write the fuck out of a movie. So Taylor Sheridan doing a Wolverine movie, dude, please, let's do this. Me, a second coming of Logan, I think in a lot of ways. So I'd love to see that. But Taylor Sheridan writing an X-Men movie versus the Avengers and a multiverse saga, I don't know that I necessarily think Sheridan would be able to do that. Not that he hasn't written a lot of characters in multiple storylines and clashing together. Certainly he can write drama really well. But most of his stories are smaller stories that have large backdrops. And I don't know necessarily that he would transfer. So to opine on the Marvel stuff without having done it yourself, I think there's a little bit of, I don't know if I put a lot of credit in that. But the other stuff he's talking about, I think he very much is on point. But with the critic stuff, it's odd to me that you say, I always say that, when someone says they don't give a shit about your opinion, it's usually they don't respond to you. That's how you don't give a shit. Like I mute people, I block people all the time because I go, I don't care what this person thinks. Boom, blocked. Boom, mute. And I don't care if someone goes, Roku blocked me. I could give a shit. Because I don't care about you. And so I block you. And that's the way I do it. But sometimes I respond because it does rankle me a little bit, or you catch me at the right time when my guard is down. But that's going to be stopping very soon as part of my evolution. So, seeing that. So I hear what Taylor is saying about the critics, but I also think there's a little bit of me thinks the lady doth protest too much in that kind of approach. So yeah. So are people upset here? 3 viewers must be a Trumper using reverse MAGA. What's going on? Is someone James, you pussy, you came in and said, not surprised you have like 3 viewers, champ. And then he goes, I'm gone now. Oh, typical MAGA pussy. Says his shit and runs. That's typical. So typical. I mean, it's just so typical, y'all. All right. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah. So here we go. Here's another thing. And look, I think we're going to skip the Beau DeMayo story. I don't have time for it. The Batman one went a little long. So staying on the topic of critics, I watched a little bit of the Rob Servations last night. If you guys don't watch Robert Meyer Burnett's show, I highly recommend you do so. I think Rob does a great job on that show, especially when he's excited about a topic. And I think he was talking about the Taylor Sheridan stuff last night a little bit. I didn't watch that section, but I saw him intro it and I moved away from it because I was going to talk about it on my show and I didn't want to be influenced by what he had to say about it. So, but Seth Rogen, let's talk about this. Seth Rogen, speaking of critics, had some interesting comments to say about criticism. And of course, he's promoting The Invite, which is coming out, which is out in theaters now. It's out in LA. And it's out in other theaters July 10th, I think, is when it's coming out. But yeah, he said some interesting comment here. So I really hope this is the last Seth Rogen I'll be publishing in the foreseeable future. And since he's practically done promoting The Invite, it probably will be. But the man has been completely unfiltered in his interviews. In a recent chat, Rogan spoke about the emotional toll professional criticism has had on his mental health, arguing that public reviews can feel far more personal and damaging than most people realize. He said, someone tried to say that this was a 3-year-old response, and it's not. He said, I'm at the point in my career where a lot of people are in a position to yell at me in my job, but the New York Times will publish an entire article saying I suck at my job. He expanded on all the hard work he's risen to the top, blah, blah, blah. And he said, and then bashed by the media. He said, I worked my way up to not having to deal with that much personal conflict face to face, but I will have a cultural institution tell everyone that I suck. Now, a few years ago, Rogan had taken aim at critics, emphasizing, much like he does here now, how negative reviews can be devastating. He said, I think if most critics knew how much it hurts the people that made the things that they are writing about, they would second guess the way they write these things. So in essence, Rogan believes critics should reconsider their tone and fully grasp the impact of their words. If most critics knew how much it hurt the people that made the things they're writing about, they would second guess the way they write these things. It's devastating. And so I have to say, with this stuff, I think it's a little bit maddening to see this happening. And this is what's happening now. The studios and the creatives are turning on critics left and right. Like they want to denigrate the profession of criticism. Now, do I think there's a level of validity to their feelings? Yes, I do. I think there are some critics in spaces who aren't necessarily critics, they're feelings people, which means they go, this is what this, I loved this and I like this and my feelings are this, as opposed to, I understand what the film was trying to do. Here's where the film failed at what it was trying to do. Here's where the film succeeded. Here's where I think the film could have made a certain thing that it failed at better. That's analysis. When you're actually presenting solutions to the issues that you're presenting, that's analysis. To point out why you think a certain actor is good in the role by citing a scene or a line or an exchange, that's analysis. By looking at how a director's directed a movie or a cinematographer has lit a shot, that's analysis. That's review. That's criticism, right? To say like, dude, this was a banger, man. This was awesome. I loved it. It was great from top to bottom. You guys are going to love it. It's so cool. That's a reaction, which is what I do, right? But when I come out of theaters. But a review, which I've been doing much more recently, that's more analytical. So when I look at the stuff that Seth is saying, I can understand that, but he is citing the New York Times. There is no one at the New York Times who is writing from a place of feelings. Like, it doesn't mean they don't feel things when they go see a movie, but they're writing it from a much more analytical and intelligent place. And in no way does the New York Times write an article that leads with Seth Rogen sucks at what he does. What they do, though, is break down and analyze why certain things work and why certain things don't, and why he's funny when he's funny and not funny when he's not funny. And I think to denigrate criticism in the most simplistic way is a ridiculous thing to do and a ridiculous thing to do. Did I say that already? A ridiculous thing to do and a foolish thing to do. Because good criticism is essential. Good criticism is important. Good criticism is journalism, whether people want to accept that or not. Because a lot of journalism is speculation. Anybody can report the facts. What are you extrapolating from the facts? That is journalism. Anybody can tell you who's in a movie, what the movie's about, basic plot, and who's the writer and director. What you extrapolate from the movie to tell me what the movie's message is, what the movie symbolizes, what the movie's about, and why the movie succeeds. That's journalism, that's criticism. And so I think any attack on criticism or journalism should be pushed back and shoved back all the time, because we are losing that in our society, because forces in power want to remove criticism. Forces in power want to arrest people that would dare to speak out against something. And in power, you can say the government, but in power, you can also say film studios, or creatives of their own films. They want to push back on it and control how people analyze their films, how people analyze their content, their TV shows, their music. They want to remove the power of critics, because critics can affect their bank account. And much more than ever now, there's more money at stake in movies, TV shows, albums. You saw Halsey going toe-to-toe with that critic. And so criticism has come under fire. And again, I say this, there are legitimate issues with some critics in our space. And there are legitimate issues with some of the way things are presented. So to me, I can understand where you're coming from when it comes to some of the YouTube critics or some of the influencers that are doing things or whatever, that are like just saying, this film totally sucks. I was bored. It was nonsense. Why'd they cast a woman in the lead? This dude thinks he's funny. He's not funny. Like, really kind of just random shit. That I understand. You could say, well, this guy just thinks I suck, right? But the New York Times isn't doing that. And so to lump the New York Times analysis with everyone else's analysis, I think is a fucking detriment. And it's an insult to the people who become these writers, who work really hard. Just as Seth Rogen worked his way up, these writers work their way up to be in these positions, to be able to write for something as prestigious as the New York Times. And it is prestigious. Fuck the right wing for saying it isn't. The New York Times is prestigious. They have some of the best analysis out there. That's why Trump attacks them all the time, because they call out his bullshit all the time. They expose his bullshit all the time, and it drives him nuts. Not that it's affected his bank account, as you saw from his recent financial disclosures, but that's why they hate the press, because the press does call them out on their bullshit. Does the press always get it right? No. But I think a majority, not over 90% of the time, I think they get it right when it comes to Trump and his stuff, and the right wing and their stuff, and the MAGA and their stuff. So it's the thing we look at it. So any attack on this, I think, is really detrimental. But I know in the film space and the TV space, they go after critics because critics can affect their bottom line, can affect the viewership and the success of a show, and all of that. It does matter. And so I see where the anger is coming from, but I think to denigrate it is nonsense, especially when you go and pull something like this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I mean, this was about some of the talk about people who shouldn't maybe be calling out critics. Where is it? Let's see here. Hold on. I think I have it. I think it was on Twitter's where I saw it. Yeah, let's watch this clip, because this guy is the guy who should not be talking about or complaining about criticism of movies. Here's him and Ike Barinholtz from the studio. By the way, love the studio, love the first season studio. Was great to see an Ike Barinholtz renaissance, who's a guy I really enjoyed and I think got lost in the Dane Cook, what's his name? Jim from The Office, John Krasinski type of, he got kind of lost in that and didn't really come out of it until the studio. And I thought he was great in the studio. But to hear this bullshit between him and Seth is utter nonsense.
Over under on actual good movies Stallone has made.
Oof.
I think it's like 4, dude.
I mean, number one, obviously, by far.
You're going to say Demolition.
I was going to say Demolition. You know me too well. For sure, Demolition.
I know you love Demolition, and I'll give you that.
Number two,
Rocky.
Tango and Cash.
Yes, I enjoy that movie very much.
Yeah.
But I don't.
It's not a good movie.
It's not a good movie. I would say Rocky, First Blood, Copland, and Rocky 3.
Copland, I like. I don't give a shit about any Rocky movies.
Yeah, you don't like
fucking sports.
Yeah, you don't like sports. You don't like sports.
Yeah. In general. So Rockies can go.
See,
you can have your Rockies.
Okay.
This is fucking ignorant, man. Because Rocky, yes, there's boxing, but Rocky is a commentary on America in the 1970s and the idea of the working man getting a shot at rising above his situation or his conditions. I'm going to tell you right now that Rocky movie is going to be in my top 10 movies that symbolize the American spirit that is going to come out probably on Saturday. To say that Rocky, you don't give a shit about the Rocky. Again, here he is lumping all the Rocky movies into the same basket, which is phenomenally ignorant. Rocky and Creed are two of the best movies ever made. They just happen to have boxing in them. Boxing is not the point of those movies. It's about climbing above or overcoming incredible obstacles to essentially say to the world, hey, I matter too. You know? And so for him to denigrate him in that way is just utter fucking nonsense.
Won an Oscar.
You can have your Rockies.
You can have your Rockies.
And hit the road.
Stuff your Rockies in a sack. Get out of here.
You know what? I'm going to throw some shade.
You know what? I'm going to throw a little shade. Stallone, maybe not as good as Schwarzenegger. Not even fucking
Schwarzenegger's in 100 of the greatest movies ever. And
Predator alone is better than anything.
Yeah. I mean, Stallone has no Terminator 2.
No, he's not.
You know what I mean?
No,
or True Lies. Schwarzenegger's
oh my God. True Lies. Are you fucking kidding me with that? Oh my.
Like legit great.
Also, Schwarzenegger's been in some bad ones, but
look how they denigrate. Look how they just got to brush past the bad ones, which were a lot. There were a lot of bad Schwarzenegger movies.
Again, like Stallone made a run of movies from like 1997 to 2012. Did you remember Driven?
Of course.
Yes, there are some bad movies in Stallone's resume near the absolutely. I don't disagree with that for sure. Driven by Rennie Harlan was horrible. Rennie Harlan still working somehow.
Daylight?
Of course. He's trapped in the Holland Tunnel.
Do you know what his name is in Daylight?
Something cool, I bet.
Kit Latura.
Kit Latura.
I can't get out of here.
I saw that in the theater.
I saw Driven in the theater.
I saw Driven in the theater too.
Insane.
No,
insane movie.
So I've been bitten more by Stallone. I've gone to those movies.
Ugh. It's so frustrating. I mean, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. Woo! There's just so many other films. I mean, just to say that Stallone is just one thing, I do not get it on so many levels. Yeah, Nighthawks is great. That's a great point. Nighthawks is fucking great. Copland is great. Rocky is great. You know what? I mean, I would even say, although it wasn't that strong of a film, Fist has something to say. And I love Arnold, but other than T2, and that's really James Cameron, what do these films have to say? You know? Let's go. Okay, let's look at these films. All right. Rocky, amazing. Fist, a valiant effort. Paradise Alley, yeah, not that great. Rocky 2, a lot of people love Rocky 2. I think Nighthawks is excellent. It gets absolutely overlooked. Him and Rutger Hauer and Billy D. Williams. That's fucking excellent. That movie is excellent. And anyone telling you it isn't is a fool. Is a damn fool, in my opinion. And then what do you get to after that? You get to what? Rocky 3. Oh, Victory, which we're going to do on the Cinephiles possibly before the end of the World Cup as a separate episode. We'll see. Rocky 3. I like Rocky 3, but I prefer Rocky 4. First Blood is incredible. There is nothing on Schwarzenegger's list that comes close to First Blood. Not fucking Commando, not fucking Raw Deal, not fucking Predator, none of them, okay? First Blood and Rocky are already putting you above Schwarzenegger. And I love Schwarzenegger. I love Arnold. But no. Rhinestone, yes. Dog shit. Rambo First Blood Part 2, fantasy, fun, yes. Rocky 4, I love. Cobra, yeah. Over the Top, Rambo 3, Lock Up, a good vehicle, not a great film. Tango and Cash, I agree with them, not a great film. Rocky 5, dog shit. Oscar, Stop My Mama Shoot, dog shit. Cliffhanger, a lot of people like Cliffhanger. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Demolition Man is his True Lies. For him to say that Stallone doesn't have a True Lies, Demolition Man is essentially True Lies, for God's sake. So, you know, it's these things. And then it's a law of diminishing returns. Then you get to Copland. He's great in Copland. Where's Schwarzenegger's Copland? Doesn't exist. He does not have a performance like that. And I watched the one with his daughter, Abigail Breslin, as his zombie daughter. No. Or the airplane one. No. I mean, Arnold's a good actor for what he does, but when he veers into drama, it's not as believable. Ants. I think he's great in Ants. Stallone is great in Ants. But yeah, Evangeline Angel, Detox, Shade, Toxic, Las Vegas. Rocky Balboa. A lot of people enjoy him in Rocky Balboa. It's not my favorite of the Rocky movies, but I know he's good in that movie, and he delivers an iconic speech that people have on their walls. People have as their screensavers on their computers or phones, or people have it saved as a ringtone or as a quote to play in their ears, for God's sakes. You know, nothing is ever going to hit you as hard as life. Then he started another franchise later in life in the 2010s with the Expendables. Yeah, Grudge Match, no. And then he's in Creed, which is amazing. His career is longer than Schwarzenegger's. Schwarzenegger never gets out of the 90s. None of his films since the 90s were good. The early 90s even, you know. Stallone is great in Creed too. I like Rambo Last Blood. I like Rambo Last Blood. I defend that film. And I love him in Guardians of the Galaxy as Stakar, and also as the voice of Shark in Suicide Squad, King Shark. And I enjoy Tulsa King. It's not the best acting performance, but I do enjoy Tulsa King. So I don't know how you can go after. Now do Arnold. Okay, let's do Arnold. Yeah, good point. And then we're gonna answer questions and wrap up because my lady outlaw needs to eat, and we're like halfway through season 2 of The Agency, and I want to start watching this thing. All right. First of all, way less movies. Only 83 movies. So where we go? Okay, so where we start? Where shall we start? Let's just start at Conan the Barbarian. Like we start with Rocky, Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian, excellent. I love this movie. I love Conan the Barbarian. I've got to get it on 4K. I love it. Conan the Destroyer, dog shit. Terminator, amazing. That's Cameron. Red Sonja, no. Commando, do not like that movie. I know a lot of people do. Raw Deal, snooze fest. Never stayed awake. I've seen Raw Deal 3 times. I've tried to watch it 3 times. I fall asleep every time. Predator, yes, excellent movie. B movie, but excellent movie. Running Man, a fun time. Red Heat, I enjoy. Him and Belushi have nice chemistry, surprisingly. Twins. Here's where Schwarzenegger does have the edge on Stallone. I think his comedies are better than Stallone's comedies. Because Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and for some people, Jingle All the Way. I'm not a Jingle All the Way person. Actually, I've never seen it, so I guess I can't say if I'm a Jingle All the Way person. But those two, yeah. But Rhinestone, Stop My Mom or Shoot, Oscar, these are not good comedies. I mean, Tango and Cash has comedy. Demolition Man is comedy, but it's much more action-oriented, right? But yeah, this is where he has the edge, for sure. Total Recall, excellent film, for sure. Damn good film. Kindergarten Cop, damn good film. Terminator 2, that's an all-time classic for a lot of people. For me, Edward Furlong still irritates the piss out of me, that movie. It's why I'll never own it. But I know that film is excellent for the most part. Then what? He was Last Action Hero. Man, I do not like that movie. I know there's some of you that grew up during this time who love Last Action Hero. I was in my 20s when I saw that movie. It did not work for me in any way, shape, or form. And then really, in my opinion, True Lies is the last gasp of his career in terms of excellence. Junior, no. Eraser, no. Fun Vehicle, but no. Jingle All the Way, some of you love it. I don't think it's a good movie. I don't think it's going to be a good movie. Batman and Robin's terrible. End of Days is ridiculous. Him telling the devil that you think you're a badass, it's ridiculous. The Sixth Day, no. Collateral Damage, no. Terminator 3, some spots, but no. Rundown, only as cameo. Rise of the Machines. That was the video game. Sorry. Then small parts of Expendables. That's not his. That's Stallone. Last Stand, fun, not great. Escape Plan, fun, not great. Sabotage. I think that's secretly a fucking excellent balls out man movie. Sabotage. You know who's great in Sabotage? Mariel Enos from The Killing. Mariel Enos, she is fucking great. Maggie, that's the zombie one with Abigail Breslin. No. Terminator Genesis, hell no. Aftermath, that's the plain one. No. Killing Gunther, God no. Iron Mask, no. Dark Fate, I like Dark Fate. I will defend Dark Fate. I think Tim Miller directed the movie, and I like Schwarzenegger in Dark Fate. And then nothing else. So there we go. So I would say that I think Stallone has the better movies in terms of artistry. Schwarzenegger might have comparable films in terms of audience-pleasing films, right? Terminator 2, I think, is the best film that he has made that could go possibly toe-to-toe with Rocky or First Blood, which I think is an unrecognized great film with an incredible commentary. And I guess that's the difference. Stallone has commentary in his movies. Schwarzenegger, not so much. It breaks my heart that Stallone's gone MAGA because so much of his commentary in his films applied to the people in power abusing power. And to not see that that's happening with his boy Trump and his people, I think is heartbreaking for me. And maybe that's why Seth and Ike went after him, because he is MAGA and they felt they could insult him. But I think it's wrong. And for you to say negative shit about Stallone's movies in the way that you do, and then cry that the New York Times says your stuff sucks, which is it? You know, you're going on Ike's podcast to shit on Stallone while crying that the New York Times is just shit on you. To me, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Critics have a right to criticize your film as they see fit, or your projects as they see fit, just like you have a right to have your opinion about whether you like any of whether Schwarzenegger's films or Stallone's films are the greatest. So, creative, heal thyself is, I guess, what I'm saying here. You know, and having been both a creative and a critic, I am always trying to find that middle ground and assess these things as we go along. So, anyway, all right. Let's hit the questions. Let's get on out of here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Sorry, Beau, I didn't get to your article. Maybe some other time I'll get to your article. Maybe over the weekend. Maybe I'll do a special truth episode on Sunday if stuff pops off. Dan says, Jeff Goldblum, Lawrence Fishburne, Alec Winter all played Death Wish muggers in various films. Yeah, Death Wish 3 is a flat-out comedy. I never saw any of the other. I think I saw Death Wish 2. I never saw any of the other ones after that. Kyle, I know that Marina Sirtis was in one of them, right? I think so. Kyle Razy says, just an idea, maybe make The Verdict yellow with black accents and tone down the red a little. I've met a lot of males who are colorblind, and the yellow-black combo is easier to read at a glance. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a let me save that and send that to my boy here. Oh, no, that's not where I'm going. Oh, Lady Outlaw is not happy with me right now. Uh-oh. All right, she's going to have to eat without me. You all take precedence. That's how much I love you guys. I really love you guys. All right, let me save that again and send that to him. Thoughts on this? All right. Good suggestions, Kyrays. I appreciate that, man. John Ashford says Sheridan could write a Marvel Western, Two Gun Kid. Love it. 100%. Sign me up. Yes. Let him redo Jonah Hex. I would love to see that too. As you said, Nighthawks is great, John Ashford. I agree with you. Love that. I mean, that reveal at the end, chef's kiss, man. Kyrays is also just an idea format. The Verdict as a super chat show where the audience can share their opinions before you give the verdict. Ooh, that could be an adjustment. That could be a nice adjustment. I like that idea. Love seeing the birth of the Outlaw in the Schmodown Vault channel. More Roca content. How do you feel about proposal at Empire State Building? Oh, I thought that was cool. I'm sad they got arrested. But, you know, love is love, man. Show it off how you can show it off. So I dug that for sure. All right, one last thing. Let's see if okay. Fred says, "Hey, Outlaw, critics are going to criticize. That's understandable. My problem has been and always will be the critic calling viewers stupid or tasteless because I like the movie they did." I agree, but remember, they're not calling you personally stupid. If a critic says that about anybody who liked the film, they're not saying, "Fred, you idiot." They're saying anybody who likes this film's in it. So it's more of a generalized term. It's not a specific attack, and I guess that's where I would caution you to not take it personal, you know, and also, you know, but I do agree. Critics who say that shit. Well, I mean, you can say if you like that movie, you're an idiot. That's a common phrase, right? But I don't think but you can't take it personally. They're not saying it to you personally. So that's where you've got to do a little bit of work to adjust how you perceive that comment. But if you're talking to a critic and they say to you, you're stupid or dumb, that's a whole nother ballgame for sure. All right. So yeah, that's everything. All right. Well, I'm out of here. I got to go. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate you madly. Well over 300 joining us for a majority of this conversation. But for the 260 of you who are left, thank you very much. Please remember to subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that bell button. Let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about here. And also, if you want to send some love later on, if you're watching later, please hit that thanks button and send us some love and support. Going to start doing these more often. And so want you all to come along on the journey with me and help support everything we got going on. So we'd appreciate it madly. Let me know what you think of The Verdict. What do you think about that as a possible title for the new show here to replace The Truth? Let me know what you think about it all down in the comment section. Well, remember, we are a podcast. So please subscribe to the John Rogan channel podcast that is out there on all the podcast platforms. Geek Buddies tomorrow, Cinephiles over the weekend live on our Cinephiles YouTube channel, and look for my July 4th video, the top 10 films that portray the American spirit, that convey the American spirit. That is coming for you all as well. All right. I must say, as I say this at the end of every show that I do like this, please remember to do what you need to do to stay around. I know times can be tough. I know it feels kind of crazy out there, but whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next day, next week, next month, next year, I want you to do it. I want you around. As I was talking at the beginning of the show about evolution, about change, about removing toxicity, it's very important. It's very important in life. So I love you all madly. Please take the time to do that. If you have to read a book, get a self-help book, take a walk, listen to music, watch a show, watch a TV show. Hell, maybe you want to watch one of my shows or re-listen to some of my other podcasts like the Top 10 or the Cinephiles or the Geek Buddies or the Hot Mic. Please make sure you do so it'll get you through the next few moments. It's really important to do so. And if I can put a plug in for the meditation podcast, that is something that I listened to when I was struggling with the deepest of my depressions. The meditation podcast and their shows really helped me get through it. The guided meditations, I listened to multiple ones to get me through hours of depression. So sending that out to you all. Please try that out as well. All right, take care of yourselves. Be well. Love you madly. And I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of The Truth, possibly, or another show maybe called The Verdict down the road. Much love. Take care.